Hello, friends. We are very interested to know which cities you are listening to us from, so quickly like and write in the comments where you are from. Also share what shocking stories happened in your city or maybe even with you personally. Subscribe because the next story could be about your city or even your personal drama. Now let's dive into a new exciting story. Emily stood at the stove, stirring the tomato sauce. The smell of garlic and basil filled the kitchen. Outside, New York City hummed with its usual evening cacophony. Sirens in the distance, car horns at an intersection, the occasional scream of neighborhood kids kicking a ball in the street. It was 6:47 p.m. and Jake was late as usual. The clock on the microwave ticked, as if to remind her of how slowly time passed in this third-floor apartment in Brooklyn. She looked at the table, where there was already a plate of pasta for their son, Liam. He was 5, and he was sitting on the couch in the living room, his head buried in his tablet. A cartoon about some talking dogs was heard in a muffled background. Emily sighed, wiped her hands on a towel, and shouted, "Liam, turn it off and go have dinner. Dad will be here soon." "5 more minutes, Mom," he responded, without taking his eyes off the screen. "No, now." Emily's voice became a little harsher than she intended. She immediately regretted it. It's not Liam's fault that she's on edge. It's not his fault that Jake is delayed again, and she's alone again with these 4 walls and endless routine. Liam reluctantly slid off the couch, tossing the tablet on the pillow, and shuffled over to the table. His blonde hair, like Jake's, stuck up in all directions after a long day at daycare. Emily placed a plate in front of him and poured a glass of water. "Eat carefully, okay? I don't want to scrub the sauce off your t-shirt again," she said, trying to add some warmth to her voice. "Will Dad eat with us?" Liam looked up, twirling his fork in his hands. Emily hesitated. She didn't know what to answer. Jake promised to be home by 6, but his soon had long since become an empty word. She shrugged and forced a smile. "Hope. He has a lot of work, you know." Liam nodded as if he was satisfied with this explanation and began to eat. Emily looked at him, feeling something clench inside her. She loved her son more than anything in the world, but in moments like this, she felt like she was drowning. Drowning alone in silence, interrupted only by the clink of a fork on a plate and the distant noise of the city. The door clicked shut at 7:12. Emily heard Jake throwing his keys onto the shelf in the hallway and sighing heavily. She did not turn around, continuing to wash the pan, although it was already clean. It was her way of giving him time to unwind, as he liked to say. But today he entered the kitchen faster than usual. "Hi," he said, opening the refrigerator. His voice sounded tired, with a slight hoarseness, as if all he had done all day was yell at someone. "Hi," Emily replied without looking up from the sink. "Dinner on the stove, if you want." "Yes, now." He pulled out a bottle of beer, opened it on the edge of the tabletop, a habit that always irritated her, and took a long sip. Then he looked at Liam. "Hey, champion, how are you?" "Fine," Liam muttered, without looking up from his plate. "We did crafts in the kindergarten. I made a robot." "Cool, can you show me later?" Jake patted him on the head, but there was no real interest in his tone. Emily noticed this. She always noticed. Jake plopped down on his chair, placing his beer on the table. His shirt was wrinkled, his tie was hanging somewhere at chest level. He worked as a manager at a logistics company, and in recent months his working day stretched until 8 or even 9 in the evening. Emily knew that he was trying for their sake, for the sake of the mortgage, for the sake of Liam's kindergarten, for the sake of this whole damn American dream. But that didn't make it any easier for her. "How is the day?" she asked, finally turning to him. She tried to sound casual, but there was still a hint of tension in her voice. "As usual," he shrugged, looking into the bottle. "The clients mixed everything up again. We had to clean it up." "And you?" "Same as usual," she answered, wiping her hands on a towel. "Liam had a fight with someone in kindergarten again, and I had to deal with the teacher. Then washing, cleaning, cooking. Nothing new." Jake nodded, but didn't say anything. He rarely said anything more than necessary lately. Emily looked at him, at his tired eyes, at the stubble that he did not have time to shave in the morning, at the way he sat, slightly slouched, and felt a wall growing between them. Invisible, but so real that you could touch it. "At least you're eating normally," she said, placing a plate of pasta in front of him. "Otherwise, you'll be sitting around drinking beer instead of dinner again." "Come on, Em, don't start." He waved his hand, but took the fork. "I'm just tired, you know. No time for lectures." "This is not a lecture," she snapped, immediately regretting her tone. Okay, forget it." She turned to the sink so he wouldn't see the treacherous glint in her eyes. Jake was silent, picking at his food. Liam, having finished his dinner, quietly slid out of his chair and returned to his tablet. Half an hour later, Jake stood up, throwing his plate into the sink half empty, as always, and muttered, "I'll go lie down. Get up early tomorrow." "Yeah," was all Emily said without turning around. She heard him go into the bedroom, the bed creaking under his weight. Then there was silence, broken only by the sounds of cartoons from the living room. Emily stood at the sink. She wanted to scream, to throw something at the wall, but instead she just started washing his plate. Again. Later, after putting Liam to bed, she sat on the sofa with a glass of wine cheap, from the supermarket, because their budget did not allow for more. The light from the street lamps filtered through the curtains, drawing streaks on the floor. She turned on the TV, but turned off the sound. She didn't need noise, she just needed not to think. But thoughts entered my head like uninvited guests. Once upon a time, she and Jake were different. 10 years ago, when they first got married, he could spend hours telling her about his dreams, opening his own business, buying a house outside the city, traveling. She laughed at his ideas, but secretly believed in them. They could talk half the night, lying in an embrace on an old mattress in their first rented apartment. And now? Now their conversations boiled down to, "Did you buy milk?" and "Don't forget to pick up Liam from kindergarten." Somewhere along the way they lost each other, and Emily didn't know how to fix it. She finished her wine and looked at her phone. The screen flashed a message from Sarah, her friend from high school. "Hey, I'm having a party on Friday. Come and take a break. Jake can handle Liam for one evening, right?" Emily thought about it. She didn't want to leave Liam, but the thought of breaking out of this apartment, out of this routine, was too tempting. She typed, "Okay, I will. Thank you." Placing the phone on the table, she leaned back on the couch and closed her eyes. Emily stood in front of the bedroom mirror, fiddling with the hem of her black dress. It was simple, long-sleeved, slightly fitted, but not flashy. The last time she wore it was to Jake's office party 2 years ago, and now, looking at herself, she noticed how a couple of extra pounds strained the fabric on her hips. She was 38, but in the dim lamplight, with shadows under her eyes and fine wrinkles at her temples, she felt older. She tied her dark brown hair into a low ponytail. She had neither the energy nor the mood to bother with styling it. "Liam, are you ready?" she shouted, putting on the earring's modest silver drops, a gift from Jake on their 5th anniversary, when he was still trying to surprise her. "Yes, Mom," came from the living room. She came out and saw her son on the sofa, pajamas with dinosaurs, a backpack on his lap, blonde hair disheveled. He smiled. A sleepover with Dad meant unlimited pizza and cartoons. Jake emerged from the kitchen holding a bottle of water. He was wearing faded jeans and a faded Metallica t-shirt, a relic from his youth. He glanced at Emily, lingering on the dress, and said, "You look good." The voice was flat, without spark, as if he were commenting on the weather. Emily clenched her teeth to keep from snapping and pulled on her coat. "Thank you," she replied dryly. "I went to Sarah. I'll be back late, so don't wait up. Liam has to go to kindergarten tomorrow at 9, don't forget." "I won't forget," he nodded, taking a sip from the bottle. "By car?" "Yes." Emily took her purse, checking that the keys to their Honda were still there. "The metro at night is not my option." "Be careful there," he said, already turning to Liam. "Come on, champion, take your jacket. The pizza won't order itself." Emily looked at them, Jake leaning towards his son, Liam jumping up at the door, clapping his hands. She suddenly wanted to stay, curl up on the couch with them, but the image of another silent evening with Jake, he with beer, she with TV, pushed her out the door. "Bye," she said, and the door slammed shut with a dull click. The drive to the Upper East Side took half an hour. Emily drove their old 2012 Honda Civic, listening to the radio at low volume. Some forecast called for rain by morning. The car creaks when turning, but held on. Jake promised to change the oil this weekend, but she knew he'd put it off again. Streetlights reflected in the wet asphalt. It had rained during the day, leaving puddles and the smell of dampness. She parked 2 blocks from Sarah's house, an old brick building with peeling paint and narrow windows. Turning off the engine, Emily sat for a minute, looking at the keys in her hand. She didn't want to go out, but sitting in the car all night was even worse. Rising to the 4th floor, she heard music on the stairs, the police with their "every breath you take." Sarah opened the door with a beaming smile, a glass of wine in her hand. Her red hair was down and her green dress looked like it cost more than their monthly mortgage. You finally made it out." Sarah hugged her, slightly spilling wine on the floor. "I thought Jake would chain you to the stove." "He's with Liam." Emily took off her coat, hanging it on a hook in the cramped hallway. "I'm free until midnight." "Great, Cinderella." Sarah pulled her into the living room. "Let's have a drink, otherwise you look like you just did your taxes." The living room was small but cozy, an old sofa with colorful pillows, a table with snacks, chips, cheese balls, a couple of bowls of sauce, and a makeshift bar in the corner made from a bookcase. About 20 guests were chatting, laughing, some swaying to the music. Emily recognized a couple of faces: Sarah's friends from college, colleagues from her advertising agency. The others were strangers, but that didn't bother her. She wanted to disappear into the noise, forget about Brooklyn, about pasta, about Jake's empty gaze. Sarah pressed a glass of white wine into her hand. Pinot Grigio. "It's not the cheap stuff you and Jake drink, so appreciate it." Emily took a sip. The wine was cold, slightly acidic, and she felt the tension in her neck ease. "Thank you," she said, looking around. "There are a lot of people." "Yes, I decided to shake things up." Sarah winked. "Tired of Zoom meetings. By the way, over there at the bar is my colleague Mike. Nice, but we'll load about crypto. Don't come if you don't want to sleep." "I'm not going to," Emily grinned. "I have enough home lectures about trucks and warehouses." They chatted for about 15 minutes. Sarah talked about work, complained about a client who demanded a discount, then moved on to her ex, who still sends her drunken messages. Emily nodded, smiled, even threw in a couple of jokes, and it was almost like a breath of air after a long dive. She finished the first glass without noticing how it was gone, and Sarah immediately slipped the second one with a sly grin. "Relax today, Em," she said, pouring more. "You haven't rested for 100 years." "It is," Emily shrugged, feeling the warmth from the wine in her chest. "Only Liam is home and, well, you know." "Jake?" Sarah rolled her eyes. "Let's not talk about him. Today, you are not a wife or a mother, but just Emily." "Okay." "Okay," she nodded, although something stabbed inside. "Just Emily." When was the last time she was just Emily? Sarah went to other guests, leaving her with a glass. Emily leaned against the wall, watching the crowd. Someone by the sofa was arguing about politics. Someone by the window was laughing at an old joke. She took another sip, feeling the wine flow through her veins, softening the corners of reality. An hour later, the party got hot. The music changed to Fleetwood Mac's Dreams, and a couple of people sang along, swaying with their glasses. Emily sat on the windowsill with her third glass, looking at the guests. The wine hummed in my head, blurring sounds and faces. She wasn't drunk, not yet, but she already felt the lightness she'd been missing for months. The light from the lamp reflected in the glass, and she looked at these reflections as if they could explain something. "Is the place occupied?" A voice nearby made her flinch. She turned around and saw a man of about 40, dark hair, light stubble, a gray shirt with the top button undone, jeans. In his hands is a bottle of Heineken beer. "No, sit down." Emily moved, although there was enough space on the wide window sill. He sat down with his legs stretched out and turned towards her. I'm Tom, Sarah's acquaintance. We worked together a couple of years ago. Emily, she nodded, taking a sip from her glass. Sarah's friend, from school. Wow, serious experience, he smiled. He had a good smile, not too wide, but warm, with fine wrinkles at the corners of his eyes. You and she are probably like sisters. Sometimes, Emily chuckled. She's still a pain, but I'm used to her. I understand. Tom took a sip of beer. She once made me sing karaoke at a party. Still gives me nightmares. What did you sing? Emily looked at him, feeling the corners of her lips creeping up. Sweet Caroline, he shook his head, as if he wanted to shake off the memory. Worst of all in history. And you? Only in the car, when I'm alone, she shrugged. And that's rare. It's a pity, he leaned a little closer. Your voice is soft. Would be good for something like yesterday. Emily felt her cheeks warm, either from the wine or from his words. She's not used to compliments. Jake stopped doing them a long time ago, limiting himself to looking normal on his best days. She looked away, hiding her embarrassment behind her glass. Thank you, she said quietly. I don't hear this often. Strange, Tom shrugged. You look like a man who has something to say. She didn't know what to answer. I wanted to laugh it off, but his gaze calm, attentive, unsettled me. Instead, she asked, Who are you, Tom? An ordinary guy, he grinned. I work in it, I fix computers, and quarrel with printers. I live in Queens, and I rent an apartment overlooking a trash can. Glamour, right? Emily laughed sincerely for the first time that evening. Sounds almost like my life, only I have a view of the neighbor's fence. They started talking. Tom talked about his work, how one day a client called in a panic because of a virus, but it turned out that he just spilled coffee on the keyboard. Emily listened, laughed, and agreed. He was funny, but not intrusive, attentive, but not cloying. The wine flowed easily, and she did not notice how the third glass was empty. Tom noticed. More? He asked, nodding towards the bar. I don't know, she hesitated, remembering the car. I'm driving. Then you'll sit longer, he stood up. One glass will not make you a racer. I'll bring it. She wanted to object, but he had already left, and a minute later he returned with a new Pinot Grigio. Emily took the glass, feeling a slight trembling in her fingers. Thank you, she said, taking a sip. You're too kind. I just don't want you to get bored. He sat closer than before, and Emily caught the smell of his cologne, something tart, with a hint of sandalwood. The conversation flowed further. Tom talked about his cat who ignores him until he gets hungry, and Emily mentioned how Liam once drew her a picture with a marker directly on the wall. They laughed, and she found herself feeling at ease easier than at home, where every word with Jake was like a stone in a swamp. At some point, Tom touched her wrist accidentally when he was gesticulating, talking about a failure on the server. She didn't move away. She liked this warmth, this hint of intimacy that had not been there for months. Do you have someone? She suddenly asked, surprised at her question. Wine loosened my tongue. Tom raised his eyebrows, but answered calmly, No. There was a couple of years ago, but it didn't work out. And you? Emily froze. She could have lied, said no, but his gaze brought out the truth. Yes, she said, looking into her glass, husband and son. Wow, he nodded, without judgment. Son, that's cool. How old is he? 5, she smiled, thinking about Liam. He's with Dad now, probably eating pizza. A good evening for him, Tom smiled. And for you. She didn't answer right away. I looked at the wine, where the light reflected golden reflections, and felt something shrinking inside. I don't know, she admitted quietly. Sometimes it feels like I'm stuck. Tom looked at her without interrupting. There was no awkwardness in his silence, only understanding. Then he said, Happens. But you're here, so you're not completely stuck. Emily met his gaze, and something inside trembled. She wanted to say more about Jake, about routine, about loneliness, but she restrained herself, smiled instead. Maybe you're right, she said, almost in a whisper. He leaned closer, and she felt the warmth of his shoulder next to hers. The music changed to Billy Joel, Piano Man, and someone in the corner started singing off-key but loud. Emily laughed, and Tom chimed in. Well, you say you don't eat. This guy is worse than me at karaoke. Maybe he needs a drink, too, she giggled, feeling the wine making her head spin. How are you holding up? For now, yes. She took another sip, realizing that this was already her fourth glass. But it's probably time to slow down. You'll have time, he shrugged. The night is long. They sat for another 20 minutes, chatting about trifles, about how Sarah once got stuck in an elevator with a client, about how Tom accidentally deleted an important file and spent 3 hours restoring it. Emily found herself smiling, nodding, even teasing him, and it was almost like a forgotten feeling of freedom. Wine made the world softer, warmer, and she did not notice how time was slipping away. At some point, Tom said, You know, you don't look like a person who often sits at home. Who does she look like? She looked at him, feeling slightly dizzy. Someone who should be, I don't know, the center of attention, he shrugged. You are too lively for routine. Emily froze. These words touched something deep inside. She wanted to object, to say that he was wrong, but instead she simply smiled. Maybe you're right, she said quietly. Tom leaned even closer, and she caught his breath, a light smell of beer and something mint. She suddenly wanted him to say something else, so that this moment wouldn't end. But then Sarah appeared next to her, clapping her hands. Hey, you two, stop whispering. She grinned, swaying slightly. Tom, don't pester my friend. She's a good girl. Emily shuddered as if she had been doused with water. Good girl. The word struck a chord, reminding me of home, of Jake, of Liam. Tom leaned back, raising his hands. I'm innocent, I swear, he said with a smile. We're just chatting. Aha, let's chat. Sarah winked and walked away, shouting to someone at the bar to bring her more wine. Emily looked at Tom, expecting awkwardness, but he just shrugged. Is she always like this? He asked, nodding towards Sarah. Yes, Emily grinned. This is her superpower. What is yours? He turned to her, and there was something soft, almost playful in his voice. I don't know, she shrugged. Maybe we can endure all this. This is not a weak force, he smiled. But I think you have something else. Emily met his gaze, and for a second it seemed to her that he saw her not his wife, not his mother, but just a woman laughing, drinking wine, and sitting on the windowsill. She looked away, feeling her heart beating faster. Shall we go dance? He suddenly suggested, standing up and extending his hand. No subtexts, just a dance. Emily looked at his palm wide, with short nails and a couple of calluses. She should have said no, taken her bag, thanked Sarah, and left. But the wine, his smile, and that damned lightness inside pushed her forward. She placed her hand in his and stood up. They pushed their way to the center of the living room, where several people were already swaying to Just the Way You Are. Tom put his hand on her waist, not too low, but confident enough. She placed her hand on his shoulder, feeling the warmth through his shirt. They moved slowly, awkwardly, but she didn't care. For the first time in a long time, she didn't think about tomorrow. You're a good dancer, he said, looking down at her. You're lying, she chuckled. I've stepped on your foot twice already. I didn't notice, he smiled. You're easy. Emily laughed, and the sound surprised her, ringing lively. They danced for another minute until the song changed to something faster and Tom let it go, stepping back. Thank you, he said. I haven't relaxed this much for a long time. And you, she nodded, feeling her cheeks burn. He walked her back to the windowsill, and they sat down again. Emily looked at her watch. It was almost midnight. The car was waiting 2 blocks away, and she needed to sober up before going on the road. But I didn't want to leave. Are you leaving soon? Tom asked, as if reading her thoughts. Yes, she sighed. Necessary. Be careful there. He looked at her seriously. The roads are wet. I will, she promised, although her thoughts were already confused. They said goodbye brief. He shook her hand, holding his fingers a little longer than necessary. Emily found Sarah and hugged her, muttering something about, "Thanks for tonight." Walking outside, she breathed in the cold air, feeling it hit her face. The wine was still thick in her blood, but she decided she could handle it. The 2 blocks to the car were in the fog, and as she got behind the wheel, she didn't think it was a mistake. Emily started the Honda, and the engine coughed before humming steadily. She sat for a minute, gripping the steering wheel, looking at the dark street ahead. The lanterns were reflected in the puddles left after the afternoon rain, and the light trembled like a mirage. The clock on the dashboard showed 12:17. The wine was still buzzing in her head, not so much that she couldn't think straight, but enough that the world seemed a little blurry. She slapped her cheeks and muttered, "Get yourself together, Em. 20 minutes from home, that's all." The keys jingled as she put the car into gear, and the car started moving. The radio quietly murmured an advertisement for some car dealership, but she didn't listen. Thoughts swirled around the party. Sarah's laughter, the warmth of Tom's hand on her waist, his words, "You're too lively for routine." She caught herself smiling, but immediately stopped herself. What is she doing? She has a husband, a son at home, a life that she herself chose. And here she is, dancing with strangers and drinking like a student. The road from the Upper East Side to Brooklyn led across the Manhattan Bridge. Emily kept to the right lane, trying not to speed. The asphalt was glistening with moisture, and the tires were sliding slightly when turning. She turned on the windshield wipers as the light rain began to patter on the glass. Visibility dropped, and the headlights of oncoming cars were blinding, forcing her to squint. "Damn," she cursed as the car jerked slightly in the wet area. Only this was not enough. She slowed down to 40 miles an hour, although she could have done more on the bridge. Hands clutched the steering wheel. A thought flashed through my head. I should have stayed with Sarah or called a taxi. But she shrugged it off. It was too late to regret. It was about 15 minutes to get home if there were no traffic jams. The bridge was behind her, and she turned onto the highway along the East River. The rain intensified, pattering on the roof, and the windshield wipers could barely cope. Emily turned on the low beam, but the headlights revealed only a gray veil. She leaned forward, peering at the road, and did not notice how her right hand slipped from the steering wheel. The car swerved, hitting the curb. Emily turned the steering wheel sharply to the left, her heart leaping into her throat. "Oh my God," she breathed, riding the Honda. "Everything is fine, everything is fine." But it was not normal. The road narrowed, a turn loomed ahead, and she realized too late that she didn't fit in. The tires squealed, the car skidded, and a metal bumper flashed before my eyes. The blow was sharp, not loud, but strong. The hood crumpled, the glass cracked, and Emily was thrown forward. The world froze. She sat, breathing heavily, feeling her pulse pounding in her temples. Rain poured down on the broken windshield, the drops mixing with the cracks. The interior smelled of gasoline and wet cloth. Emily touched her forehead. Her fingers were sticky with blood. Not much, but enough for panic to overwhelm her. "No, no, no," she muttered, looking around. The car stood sideways, leaning against the bump stop. Outside the window, the ocean was dark, the East River, black and endless, with rare lights on the other side. She tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. The engine was silent, only the wipers squeaked faintly until the battery died completely. Emily grabbed her phone from her bag, her hands shaking. The screen lit up 12:34, battery at 20%. She dialed 911, but the signal disappeared as soon as the operator answered. "Hello, it's an accident. The connection was cut off. Crap." She threw the phone on the seat, feeling tears sting her eyes. The cold was creeping into the cabin, and she was shivering, either from shock or from fever. My head was spinning. What have I done? Jake will kill me. Liam, how do I explain? She imagined his face, blonde hair, big eyes, the question, "Mom, why aren't you at home?" and closed her eyes so as not to burst into tears. The headlights shined through the rain. Emily opened her eyes, and a white van with red stripes stopped 10 yards away. Ambulance. She didn't even hear the siren. The van door slammed and a woman in an orange vest ran up to the car. Tall, with short dark hair wet from the rain, she knocked on the window. "Hey, are you okay?" The voice was loud and clear, despite the sound of the water. Emily nodded, then shook her head. She didn't understand what she was doing. The woman tried to open the door, but it jammed. "Hold on, I'll get you out," she shouted, walking around the car. A minute later, the back door gave way with a creak, and the woman climbed inside, holding out her hand. "Come on, carefully. Can you move?" "Yes, I think." Emily unfastened her belt, feeling pain in her chest. She turned, clinging to the seat, and the woman helped her out the back door. The rain lashed her face, soaking her dress through. "Come here." The woman led her to the ambulance, supporting her by the elbow. It was warm inside and smelled of antiseptic and rubber. Emily sat on the couch, shaking as the woman took off her vest and grabbed the first aid kit. "My name is Sophia," she said, sitting down next to him. Her voice became softer, but remained confident. "I'm a doctor. Let's see what's wrong with you." Emily nodded. Sophia wiped the wound with cotton wool soaked in something caustic and covered it with a plaster. "It's not deep, but there will be a lump," she said, examining her eyes with a flashlight. "The pupils are normal. Does anything hurt?" "Breasts. Belt." Emily touched herself under the collarbone. "And my head is spinning." "It's normal after a blow," Sophia nodded. "The ribs are intact, most likely just a bruise. But we'll go to the hospital and check it out." "No, I need to go home." Emily shook her head, immediately regretting it. The pain shot through her temple. "The house will wait." Sophia looked at her sternly, but with warmth. "You crashed into a bump stop on a wet road. This is not a joke." Emily lowered her eyes. She wanted to object, but did not have the strength. Sophia stood up, shouting to her partner through the partition. "Joe, call a tow truck for her car." And we went to Brooklyn Hospital. "I'm already calling." A male voice responded. Sophia returned to Emily, handing her the blanket. "Put it on. You're wet like a cat in the rain." "Thank you." Emily wrapped herself up, feeling the warmth enveloping her shoulders. She looked at Sophia. She was 5 years younger, with sharp cheekbones and tired but lively eyes. The badge on the uniform reads, S. Martinez, paramedic. "What is your name?" Sophia asked, filling out the form on the tablet. Emily Reed." "Okay, Emily Reed." Sophia smiled at the corner of her lips. "What were you doing on the road in this weather?" Emily hesitated. To tell the truth that she was drinking at a party and decided to drive was embarrassing. But lying under this gaze seemed impossible. "I was at a friend's place," she squeezed out. "Party. I drank. A little." "A little, that is," Sophia chuckled, but did not judge. "I was lucky that it was only a barrier and not a river." Emily swallowed, imagining the black water outside the window. She suddenly realized how close she was to the edge, literally, and not only. The ambulance started moving, and the lights of the city flashed outside the window. "Do you have a family?" Sophia asked without looking up from her tablet. "Yes," Emily nodded. "Husband. Son, 5 years old." "We need to call them." Sophia looked at her. "Where is your phone?" "In the car." Emily patted her pockets, remembering how she threw it on the seat. "Okay, we'll find it." Sophia waved her hand. "Or you'll call from the hospital. They should know." Emily imagined Jake's voice, cold, angry. "Where have you been? Why is the car broken?" And shrank. She didn't want this conversation. Not now. "Thank you," she said, looking at Sophia. I don't know what I should do." "This is my job," Sophia shrugged, but something warm flashed in her eyes. "The main thing is that you are safe. The rest will be fixed." Emily nodded, feeling a lump in her throat. "How long have you been working like this?" 6 years. Sophia put down the tablet. "Anything can happen. Today, you are the first one to crash into a bump stop, but not the first one to drink before that." Emily lowered her eyes, feeling a pang of shame. Sophia noticed. "Hey, don't worry," she said softly. "Everyone makes mistakes. The main thing is that you are alive." The ambulance turned toward the hospital, and Emily saw the sign through the wet glass. Sophia stood up, helping her up. "Come on, heroine," she said with a slight mockery. "Let's prove that you're okay." Emily followed her, still shaking, but not as much. Ahead lay the X-ray, questions from the doctors, and the inevitable call to Jake. But at this moment, next to Sophia, she felt a little less lost. Emily sat on the hospital couch, wrapped in a thin blanket. The Brooklyn hospital was buzzing with nightlife. Monitors beeped in the distance, nurses chatted in the hallway, carts creaked across the floor. The light from the lamps hurt her eyes, emphasizing the cracks in the walls and her fatigue. She touched the patch on her forehead, the lump throbbed, but the blood stopped. My chest ached from the belt, every breath was painful, but the doctor, a young guy with red eyes, said that there were no fractures. "Bruises, slight concussion. Rest," he said, leaving to go to the next patient. The clock showed 1:45 am. Emily looked at the cracked phone. Joe, Sophia's partner, had brought it out of the Honda. 3 missed calls from Jake and a message. "Where are you?" "Liam fell asleep. I'm going to bed." She clutched the phone, her palms sweating. "I need to call, but how can I explain? I crashed my car because I drank. It will explode. Or he will simply remain silent, which is even worse." The door creaked and Sophia entered. The uniform was wet, her short hair stuck to her forehead, but she looked put together. In his hands is a glass of water. "Here," she said, holding it out. "You're pale. Drink." "Thank you." Emily took the water and took a sip. "My throat was dry and this helped. Are you still here?" "Shift until 3. Sophia leaned against the wall, crossing her arms. "I decided to check you." "What did the doctor say?" "Bruises, concussion." Emily shrugged, wincing in pain. "It's okay, it seems." "Lucky," Sophia nodded. "A bump stop is not a pillow." Emily lowered her eyes, feeling ashamed. Sophia didn't judge, but the truth hung between them. She was drinking and driving. She squeezed the cup, the plastic crunching. "Thank you for pulling me out," she said quietly. I don't know what I should do." "You're welcome." Sophia smiled at the corner of her lips. "You behaved well and didn't yell." There was screaming inside. Emily chuckled. "That doesn't count." Sophia stepped closer. "The main thing is that she's alive. The car is iron. If my husband doesn't kill me for this iron," Emily tried to joke, but her voice trembled. Sophia looked more closely. "Is he strict?" "Sometimes," Emily sighed. "We're both just tired." "Did you call him?" Sophia nodded at the phone. "No," she swallowed. "Don't want to." "We must." Sophia sat down on the edge of the couch, her knee touching the blanket. "He should know. And my son, too." Emily imagined Liam, how he would wake up, and she wouldn't. My heart sank. She dialed Jake's number. The beeps took a long time, but he answered. The voice is hoarse, angry. "Where the hell are you?" "In the hospital." She tried to sound even. "Accident. I'm fine, but the car." "What?" He interrupted. The bed creaked. "Are you serious? In order? What's happened?" "It's raining. It's slippery." She hesitated, not mentioning the wine. "Crashed into a bump stop. Bruises, no big deal." "It's okay." His voice became louder. "You drank, right? Don't lie to me, Emily." She clutched the phone, feeling tears welling up. "Yes, a little. At Sarah's party." "A little?" He almost shouted. "Did you drive drunk? Do you even realize how irresponsible this is? Okay, didn't think about me, but about Liam. What if you hit someone? Or did she crash herself?" "Jake, She closed her eyes. "I didn't want to. Sorry." "Sorry," he snorted. "Liam is sleeping here, and I'm sitting here. I don't know if you're alive or not. How could you do this?" "Don't shout," she whispered. "Please." "I'm in the hospital. Everything is fine. Just come. I need to go home." "Shall I come?" He smiled bitterly. "Who should I leave Liam with? Do you even think with your head? Sit there. We'll sort it out in the morning." The connection has been lost. Emily looked at the screen, her cheeks burning with shame. Sophia was silent, but her gaze was palpable. Hard, she finally said without sarcasm. He's right, Emily wiped her eyes with her sleeve. I screwed up. Maybe, Sophia shrugged, but he could have been softer. You're alive, that's the main thing. Emily looked at her. Sophia sat close, her confidence almost palpable. She didn't fuss, didn't bother with moralizing, she was just there. Emily found herself looking at her hands, strong, short nails, cracked from work. Then on the face, sharp cheekbones, dark eyes, raindrops in the eyelashes. There was something attractive about her, a strength that Emily lacked. You're great, she said, not knowing why. Calm, I would have smashed everyone. It's a habit, Sophia grinned. But at home I can also bark, don't think so. Emily chuckled, and that weak laugh relieved the tension. She leaned back on the pillow, the pain in her chest subsiding. You need to go home, said Sophia, getting up. Will the doctor let you go? In the morning, Emily sighed. Tests are awaiting. Sit here, Sophia nodded. I'll come by before I leave. No need, Emily shook her head. You've already done a lot. I want to, Sophia looked at her firmly. I don't know, I liked you. Emily froze. This liked got me hooked. She nodded, at a loss for words. Okay, she said quietly. Come in. Sophia left. Emily was left alone, staring at the ceiling. She wanted Sophia to come back not because of the accident, but just like that. This feeling was strange, new, and she didn't know what to do with it. The morning came with a gray light and a nurse with a discharge. Emily signed the papers, feeling broken but alive. Tests showed alcohol above normal, but not critical. The doctor muttered, "Be careful," and let me go. She took a taxi, knowing that the Honda was on a tow truck. Jake met her at the door. Liam was still asleep, the apartment was quiet, but tension hung in the air. Jake stood with his arms crossed, wearing an old t-shirt and jeans. The face is a mixture of anger and fatigue. Well, he said when she entered. What do you say? I crashed. Emily took off her coat without looking at him. Rain, slippery. The ambulance took me and checked. I'm fine. In order? He stepped closer, his voice trembling with suppressed rage. You've been drinking, Emily. She got behind the wheel drunk. Do you even understand what you could have done? I understand. She clenched her fists. I didn't want to. You didn't want to. He raised his voice. What if Liam was left without a mother? Or would you hit someone? Have you thought about him at all? I thought. She raised her eyes, feeling the tears burning. I was wrong, Jake. Sorry. I was wrong, he snorted, turning away. Broken car, hospital. Just, don't scream. Don't shout. He looked at her, his eyes sparkling. For once, think about us and not about yourself. He went into the bedroom, slamming the door. Emily collapsed on the sofa, tears streaming down her cheeks. She felt worthless. Sophia's voice sounded in my head. Everyone makes mistakes. You're alive. This kept her afloat. That afternoon, she found a piece of paper in her coat pocket, a number and Sophia M. handwritten. Emily didn't remember how he got there, but warmth spread through her chest. She sat in the kitchen while Liam watched cartoons and thought about her voice, her hands, her confidence. It was more than gratitude. It was dangerous, alluring. She wrote, Hi, it's Emily. Thanks again. How are you? My fingers trembled when I pressed send. The answer came an hour later. Hello, Emily. I'm glad you're okay. Shift, tired as a dog. How are you? Emily smiled, her heart beating faster. She didn't know what it meant, but she wanted to write more. It was 2:30 in the afternoon. Liam was watching cartoons in the living room, and Jake had left for work, leaving only a parting message to take care of the car. The silence in the apartment was oppressive, but this short message from Sophia seemed to punch a hole in her through which air rushed. She twirled the phone in her hands, feeling her fingers tremble. It was easy to answer just, okay, thank you, and that's it. But she wanted more. She wanted the warmth that she felt at night in the hospital when Sophia sat next to her, without judging. Emily swallowed, typing, Hi, I'm glad you wrote too. At home, resting. How are you holding up after your shift? She pressed send and immediately regretted it. Too long? Too friendly? She dropped the phone on the table like a hot potato and stood up to get some water. The glass shook in her hand as she waited for an answer. 5 minutes later, the screen blinked. I'm holding on to coffee and willpower. It's better at home than in the emergency room. Don't you have a headache? Emily smiled, feeling her cheeks warm. She sat back, typing. It hurts a little, but you can live. Is coffee your secret? I have to try it. The answer came quickly. My savior. Try it with cinnamon. It adds life. How is your day? It was simple, a couple of words, nothing special. But Emily found herself rereading each message, as if searching for hidden meaning. She wrote, boring. Liam watches cartoons. I sit and think about yesterday. How do you relax after work? Sophia replied, yesterday was fun, right? I usually go to bed after my shift, but today something's not going well. I'm thinking about that broken car and the pretty driver. Emily froze as she looked at the word pretty. Was it a compliment? Flirting? She felt her heart beating faster and her cheeks burning. She didn't know what to answer, but her fingers typed on their own. Cute, you say? Thank you. You're fine too, especially in that uniform. She sent and immediately covered her face with her hands. What is she doing? It's too bold, too. What? She's married with a son, and she's flirting with a woman she barely knows. But when the answer came, oh, did you notice? I'm trying to look cool while saving people. You looked like fire in that dress. Emily couldn't help but smile. Mom, can I have some juice? Liam's voice from the living room brought her back to reality. She flinched, as if caught in the act of a crime. Yes, now, she shouted, standing up. She poured him apple juice, put it on the table by the sofa, and returned to the phone. Liam turned his attention to the screen, not noticing her confusion. She wrote, the dress is old, but nice to hear. Are you always so bold with compliments? Sophia replied. Only when I see someone standing. You stood out even in that broken-down car. Emily swallowed, feeling a warmth in her chest. It was more than gratitude. It was something new, dangerous, and she liked it. She replied, you know how to lighten the mood. Thanks for pulling me out, by the way. Tell me something about yourself. The answer came a minute later. I'm 33. I live in the Bronx with a cat who hates me. I've worked in the for 6 years. I love adrenaline. What about you? Tell me about yourself. A broken car doesn't count. Emily grinned as she typed. I'm 38. I live in Brooklyn with my son and husband. My son is my light, my husband. Well, it's more difficult. I work from home, freelance, and get bored. Does the cat really hate you? Sophia replied, he is a king. I am his servant. And you are not boring since you crashed into a bump stop for the sake of drama. Doesn't a husband appreciate such a wife? Emily froze. The question was simple, but it cut deeply. She looked at the engagement ring, thin, slightly scratched, and wrote, sometimes it seems like not. We just live next to each other, not together. The answer came quickly. It's a pity. You deserve more than nearby. Someone needs to see this. Emily stared at the screen, feeling Sophia's words hit home. She was not used to this, to someone noticing her, and not just her wife and mother. She wrote, you are too kind. What do you deserve? Sophia replied, honestly, someone who is not afraid to live. And coffee in the morning. You could handle coffee, I think. Emily laughed out loud, immediately covering her mouth so Liam wouldn't hear. It was flirting, obvious, bold, and she didn't know how to stop. She wrote, coffee with cinnamon, I can arrange it. Would you surprise me with something? Maybe I would dance for you, Sophia replied. But I'm a lousy dancer, so I'd rather sing. What kind of voice do you have, imagine? Emily felt her face heat. It was too close, too real. She replied, I don't know, I haven't sung for 100 years. You could sing better, I'm sure. We'll check it out sometime, Sophia wrote. I like you, Emily, even with the bump on your forehead. Emily put the phone face down, feeling her heart pounding. I like you. These words were spinning in her head like a melody that she could not forget. She got up to distract herself and began to wash the dishes, but her thoughts returned to Sophia. The day passed slowly. Liam asked to play cards, and Emily sat with him on the floor, pushing a plastic truck, but his thoughts were elsewhere. The phone was lying on the sofa, and she glanced sideways at it every now and then. When Liam was distracted, she picked it up and saw a new message. "You're missing. Is everything okay?" She replied, "Yes, I'm playing with my son." "What are you doing?" Sophia wrote, "I'm lying there, thinking about you. Don't be bored there." Emily clutched the phone, feeling guilty and worried at the same time. She wrote, "I try. You know how to occupy my thoughts." The answer was quick. "This is my talent. You are also in my head, by the way." This went on all day. The messages came and went short, light, but with implications that Emily couldn't ignore. "You are beautiful, even when you are silent," Sophia wrote in the evening. Emily replied, "You praise too much. I'm ordinary. Ordinary people don't fly into the barriers and don't write to me. You're special." By nightfall, after Liam had fallen asleep and Jake had not yet returned, Emily was sitting on the couch with her phone. Jake arrived at 9:30, tired, smelling of cigarettes. He started smoking again, although he promised to quit. He threw his jacket on the chair and looked at her. "How's the car?" he asked, opening the refrigerator. "For evacuation or..." Emily hid the phone behind the pillow. "I'll call the insurance company tomorrow." "Call me." He took the beer and went into the bedroom without saying another word. Emily was left alone. She pulled out her phone and saw a message from Sophia. "Good night, Emily. Dream of good things." She replied, "Calm down, Sophia. You've already made my day better." Emily stood in front of the bathroom mirror, looking at her reflection. The bump on my forehead had faded, but was still visible under the layer of foundation. She put on jeans and a gray sweater, nothing special, just comfortable. She left her hair down, slightly curling the ends, not for beauty, but so as not to look too tired. It was Wednesday morning, 3 days after the accident, and she told Jake she was going to Sarah's to talk. He just nodded without looking up from the phone, and this indifference stung more than usual. Liam was at daycare, and Emily had a few hours of freedom left. The phone was lying on the sink, and the latest messages from Sophia were glowing on the screen. "Let's meet tomorrow. Cafe in Brooklyn, Bean and Brew at 10. I want to see you not in a broken-down car." Emily replied, "Okay, I will. You're out of shape too, I hope." Sophia wrote, "No vest, I promise. See you tomorrow, Emily." Bean and Brew was a few blocks away, a small cafe with wooden tables and the smell of freshly ground coffee. Emily arrived by taxi. The Honda was still in the workshop, and insurance was taking its time. She entered, looking around. The morning was quiet, the coffee machine was humming at the counter, and a couple of people were sitting with laptops. Sophia was already there at the window, in a black t-shirt and denim jacket, with a cup of coffee in front of her. She looked up and smiled, and Emily felt her legs go weak. "Hi," Sophia said, standing up. "You look better than last time." "I hope so," Emily grinned, sitting down opposite her. "Without blood and glass, it has already progressed." "Definitely," Sophia nodded at her forehead. "The lump is almost gone. How are you feeling?" "Okay," Emily shrugged. "My chest is still aching, but I can live." "And you?" "After my shift, like a zombie." Sophia took a sip of coffee. "But coffee saves." "Want?" "Yes," Emily nodded. "With cinnamon, as you recommended." Sophia waved to the waiter, ordering a cinnamon coffee for Emily and another for herself. They were silent for a minute until the order was brought, and this silence was strangely comfortable. Emily looked at Sophia. She seemed softer without her uniform, but the same confidence was evident in her movements, in the way she held the cup. "Thank you for agreeing," said Sophia, stirring the sugar. "I thought you would refuse." "Why?" Emily took a sip. The cinnamon added a warm note, and she loved it. "I don't know," Sophia shrugged. "After all this, the accident, the hospital, I could hide at home." "I wanted to," Emily admitted, looking into the cup. But you made me come out. Okay, Sophia smiled. You're not the kind of person who has to hide. Emily met her gaze, feeling warmth in her chest. Sophia spoke simply, but every word hit the mark. She cleared her throat to hide her embarrassment. Are you always so straightforward? She asked. I'm trying, Sophia grinned. There is no time for games at work, and in life too. I'm jealous, Emily sighed. I'm always thinking about what to say so as not to offend anyone. Who are you afraid of offending? Sophia leaned a little closer, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Emily hesitated. Jake? Liam? Myself? She shrugged. Everyone, probably, she said quietly. Habit. It's time to break habits. Sophia leaned back. You're too good to please everyone. Emily chuckled, but the word stung. She looked at Sophia. She sat relaxed, but attentively as if she saw right through her. It was unusual at home. Jake looked past. Liam saw only his mother, but here someone was looking at her, Emily. Tell me about yourself, she said, changing the subject. You promised not only to be brave with words. Okay, Sophia laughed. Born in the Bronx, parents from Puerto Rico. Mom is a nurse, dad drove a truck until his back gave out. I have a younger sister. She is married with 2 children. I became a paramedic because I love helping, but I don't like offices. And you? Emily took a sip, gathering her thoughts. I'm from New Jersey, moved to New York after college. Met Jake, got married, Liam was born. Worked in marketing, now freelancing at home. Nothing special. Liam is special, Sophia shook her head. And you too. Don't put yourself down. Emily lowered her eyes, feeling her cheeks burn. Sophia spoke as if it were true, and she wanted to believe it. They chatted for another half hour about childhood, about work, about stupid stories. Sophia told how she once got stuck in an elevator with a patient, and Emily told how Liam spilled paint on the carpet, and she and Jake spent 3 hours cleaning the stain. Laughter came easily, and Emily found herself not thinking about the time. You're great, Sophia suddenly said, looking into her eyes. Seriously. You too, Emily smiled, even when you pull fools out of cars. Not fools, Sophia shook her head. Just people who make mistakes. You're not stupid, Emily. Emily froze. It was said softly, but with such confidence that she felt a lump in her throat. Jake called her irresponsible, stupid, but here it was something else. She looked away, hiding her emotions behind her cup. Thank you, she said quietly. You don't know how important this is. I know, Sophia leaned closer. Your eyes are so, like you haven't heard anything good for a long time. Emily met her gaze, and something inside trembled. Sophia was closer than needed for a simple conversation. Her hand lay on the table, her fingers just touching the edge of Emily's cup. It was accidental, but Emily didn't move away. She liked this warmth, this closeness. Are you always so caring? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. Only with those I like, Sophia smiled, but something serious flashed in her eyes. And I like you, Emily. Emily swallowed, feeling her heart pounding in her ears. It was more than words. It was a promise, a question, a challenge. She could have laughed it off and walked away, but instead she said, You do me too. A second of silence hung between them, heavy and light at the same time. Sophia extended her hand, touching her fingers lightly, almost weightlessly. Emily didn't remove her hand. Sophia's skin was warm, slightly rough, and the touch was electrifying. You're trembling, Sophia said quietly. I'm nervous, Emily admitted, looking at their hands. I'm not used to this. Why? Sophia did not look away. To the point that someone sees me, Emily pursed her lips. At home, I'm just part of the furniture. You are not furniture. Sophia squeezed her fingers a little tighter. You are alive, beautiful, real, and I see it. Emily felt tears sting her eyes, but held back. She looked at Sophia, and at that moment the cafe, the noise of the coffee machine, the whole world disappeared. There were only them 2 women at a table, and something that grew between them, like a spark. You're too good, she said, trying to joke. Or are you too used to bad things? Sophia smiled, but did not let go of her hand. They sat for another hour, the conversation flowing into little things about favorite films, about coffee, about how Sophia hates early shifts. But the tension did not go away. Every word, every look was imbued with something more. When it was time to leave, Emily had to pick up Liam from daycare. Sophia walked her to the door. See you? She asked, standing close. Yes, Emily nodded, feeling her voice tremble. Want? Sophia smiled, leaned over, and hugged her briefly but tightly. Emily inhaled her scent coffee, some soap, something warm. She hugged back, feeling her heart pounding. Take care of yourself, Sophia said, retreating. And you, Emily forced a smile. At home, the day passed as a routine. Liam was talking about kindergarten. Emily was preparing dinner, macaroni and cheese, nothing complicated. Jake arrived late, threw his jacket, and sat down at the table. How's the car? He asked, looking at the plate. In the workshop, Emily put food for him. Insurance is still silent. Call me tomorrow, he nodded, without looking up. We can't handle the repairs. I know, she pursed her lips, feeling how everything inside was shrinking. He ate in silence, then went off to watch TV. Emily put the dishes away, thinking about Sophia. The phone blinked a message. It was good to see you. Are you okay? Emily replied, yes, thank you. Emily stood at the window in the living room, looking at the gray Brooklyn beyond the glass. It was Friday, the week after the accident seemed like an eternity. Liam was playing in the kindergarten. Jake went to work, abandoning the usual, I'll be back late. The silence of the apartment was oppressive, but Emily was seething inside messages from Sophia, their meeting in a cafe, that warmth that she could not forget. Today, everything was about to change. The phone was lying on the windowsill, and the last message from Sophia was on the screen. Free today? I want to see you. Cafe or something else, decide. Emily replied in the morning, yes, free, not a cafe, somewhere to talk. Sophia wrote, there's a place in Dumbo, the Rusty Anchor Bar, at 6 p.m. Is that okay? Emily confirmed, yes, I will. She told Jake she was going to Sarah's for the evening. The lie became easier than expected. He just nodded without looking up from his phone. Emily put on a black dress, the same one from the party, and a coat, feeling her heart pounding. This wasn't just a date. It was a decision, a step over the edge, and she knew it. The Rusty Anchor was a small bar by the river, dark, wooden interior, dim lights, smell of whiskey and wet wood. Emily walked in at 6:05, looking around. Sophia sat at the counter, wearing a leather jacket and jeans, with a glass of beer in her hand. She turned when she saw Emily and smiled warmly, but with a sparkle that took Emily's breath away. Hello, Sophia stood up, stepping towards him. You look, damn, better than I imagined. Thank you. Emily took off her coat, feeling her cheeks burn. You too. Sophia nodded towards the counter. What are you going to do? Beer, wine. Wine. Emily sat down next to her. Red, if available. Sophia ordered a glass of Merlot and pushed it towards her. They clinked glasses, the glass clinked, and Emily took a sip, feeling the warmth spreading through her chest. I'm glad you came, Sophia said, looking into her eyes. I thought you'd change your mind. It was close, Emily grinned, but I wanted to see you. Okay, Sophia leaned closer. Me too. The conversation started easily about work, about how Sophia pulled a drunk guy out of an overturned taxi yesterday, about how Liam drew her a rocket in the kindergarten. But the tension grew every minute. Sophia touched her arm when she laughed, and Emily didn't move away. The bar was buzzing around a couple of people at the pool table. The bartender was wiping glasses, but for Emily there was only Sophia. You're different today, Sophia said half an hour later, finishing her beer. More courageous, perhaps. Maybe, Emily looked into her glass. I'm tired of being afraid. What? Sophia narrowed her eyes. Everything, Emily pursed her lips. At home, husband, myself. I want to do something for myself at least once. Sophia was silent for a second, then put her hand on her wrist warm, confident. "Then do it," she said quietly. "I'm here." Emily met her gaze, and something inside burst. She leaned forward without thinking, and their lips met briefly, almost by accident. Sophia froze. They pulled away, breathing heavily. Sophia looked at her, her eyes sparkling. "Damn, Emily," she said quietly. "Are you sure?" "No," Emily swallowed, but didn't look away. "But I want to." Sophia nodded, as if this was the answer she was waiting for. She threw the money on the counter, grabbed her jacket, and said, "Let's go." They went outside, the cold air hit their face, but Emily did not feel it. Sophia took her hand and led her across the block to a small hotel River Inn, 3 floors, sign with peeling paint. Emily didn't ask why there, she just walked, feeling her pulse pounding in her temples. Sophia rented a room for cash without looking at the receptionist, and 5 minutes later they were in a room simple, with a bed, a bedside table, and a window overlooking the river. The door closed and Sophia turned to her. "If you want to leave, say now." Emily shook her head. "Don't want to." Sophia stepped closer, her hands going to Emily's waist, and the kiss began again. They fell onto the bed, their clothes scattered across the floor. It wasn't like Jake, not mechanical, not familiar. It was alive, real, and Emily was drowning in it. When it was over, they lay under a thin blanket, breathing heavily. Sophia pulled Emily close, her hand stroking her back. Emily leaned into her shoulder, smelling the smell of sweat and soap. The guilt came immediately sharp as a knife, but Sophia's warmth was next to her, and it kept her afloat. "Are you okay?" Sophia asked, her voice hoarse. "Yes," Emily whispered, "and no." "I understand," Sophia squeezed her shoulder. "Don't think now. Just be here." Emily nodded, closing her eyes. She knew this would change everything at home, with Jake, with Liam. But at this moment, she did not want to think. She wanted Sophia, her voice, her hands, her warmth, and it was stronger than guilt. Emily returned home at 11:30. Jake sat on the couch with a beer, the TV blaring with a sports match. He looked at her, narrowing his eyes. "Sarah's been taking a long time," he said, without much interest. "Yes." Emily took off her coat, hiding the trembling in her hands. "It took a long time." "Liam is sleeping," he nodded towards his room. "Don't wake me up." "I won't wake you up." She went into the bathroom, closing the door. In the mirror, her face was alien, her cheeks were pink, her eyes were shining, her lips were swollen. She turned on the water, washing away Sophia's scent, but the memory of her remained. The phone blinked a message. "Are you home? Is everything okay?" Emily replied, "Yes. Thank you for the evening. You are incredible." Sophia wrote, "You too. Rest easy, Emily." She lay down in the shelter, was next to Jake, but there was a gap between them. He slept with his back turned, and she looked at the ceiling, feeling guilt and desire fighting inside. Emily woke up with a heavy head, although she had only slept for a couple of hours. It was Saturday morning, gray light filtered through the curtains, and the bed next to it was empty. Jake was already up. She could hear him rattling dishes in the kitchen. Liam was shouting something about cartoons from the living room. The phone was on the nightstand, and she picked it up, checking her messages. Sophia wrote at 2:30 a.m. "I can't sleep. I'm thinking about you. How are you?" Emily smiled despite everything and replied, "It's a rough morning, but you're on my mind. Are you okay?" She hid the phone under her pillow when she heard Jake's footsteps. He came in with a mug of coffee, wearing an old t-shirt and jeans. His face was gloomy, the stubble darkened on his chin. He looked at her, narrowing his eyes. "You're late yesterday," he said, putting the mug on the nightstand. "Did Sarah keep you half the night?" "Yes." Emily sat up, pulling the blanket up to her chin. The conversation dragged on. "Girls, wine, you know." "I know," he nodded, but there was something sharp in his voice. "You're strange this morning. Did something happen?" "No," she answered too quickly, and he noticed it. "I just didn't get enough sleep." "Yeah." Jake looked at her for another second, then walked away, throwing over his shoulder, "Liam wants pancakes. Get up if you can." Emily exhaled as the door closed. His tone, His look, it was not just morning. He felt something, and she knew she had to be careful. The day passed in routine. Emily was frying pancakes. Liam was eating, spreading syrup on the table. Jake was sitting on the phone, reading the news. She tried to be normal. She smiled at her son, asked Jake about work, but inside everything was trembling. Sophia replied around noon, "I'm okay, but I miss you." The evening was, "Wow. See you soon," Emily wrote. "Yes, I want to. I'll write soon." She deleted the correspondence, feeling her palms sweat. As the evening wore on, Jake became quieter than usual. He was busy with Liam, helping him build a tower of blocks, but every now and then he glanced sideways at Emily. She sat on the sofa, pretending to read a book, but her thoughts were far away. When Liam fell asleep, Jake sat next to him, opening a beer. "Did you go somewhere yesterday?" he asked suddenly, looking at the TV. "What?" Emily shuddered, closing the book. "No, to Sarah. Just asking." He took a sip. "You're late, and I don't know, you don't look right." "How can it be wrong?" She clutched the book, feeling her pulse quicken. "I don't know," he shrugged, but his eyes were cold, absent-minded, "and your phone is blinking all the time." Emily swallowed. She left her phone in the kitchen, and he apparently noticed. "This is probably Sarah. He writes all sorts of nonsense." "Yeah," he nodded, but didn't believe it. She saw it in his face. "It's just strange. After the accident, you are somehow different." "I'm tired." She stood up, leaving for the kitchen, "and my head still hurts." He didn't answer, but looked at her back. Emily took her phone and checked Sophia sent a heart emoji. She removed it, feeling her heart pounding. Jake suspected, not directly, but intuitively, and it was scary. The next days were like dancing in a minefield. Emily met with Sophia twice more short outings under the pretext of meeting Sarah. Once in the park, where they walked holding hands, the other in the same hotel, where passion flared up again, leaving Emily trembling with guilt and desire. Sophia was gentle but persistent. Her words, "You are beautiful, you are alive, you are mine," sounded in Emily's head like a mantra. At home, she became more careful. The phone was always locked. Correspondence was deleted immediately. But Jake noticed the little things. She left more often, returned with a slight blush, and spoke to him less. He started asking questions. On Wednesday night, after Liam had fallen asleep, Jake caught her in the kitchen. She was washing dishes when he came in holding a beer. "Are you going to see Sarah again tomorrow?" he asked, his voice level but tense. "Yes." Emily didn't turn around, concentrating on the plate. She asked to come in. "You often go to see her." He stepped closer. "This didn't happen before. It's just, the time is like this." She shrugged. "I want to take a break." "From what?" He put the bottle on the table, and the sound made her flinch. "From me? From Liam?" "No." She turned around, wiping her hands with a towel. "Just from everything." "Yeah." He looked into her eyes, and she felt him looking for a lie. "You're hiding your phone now." "What's there?" "Nothing." She squeezed the towel. "Just chats with friends." "Show me." He extended his hand. Emily froze. "The phone was in my pocket. The correspondence with Sophia was deleted. But the very fact that he was asking hit my nerves." "For what?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I just want to know." He did not remove his hand. "You're not lying, are you?" "Jake, this is stupid." She stepped back. "I'm not a child." "And you're acting strange." He lowered his hand, but his gaze became harder. "You leave, remain silent, smile into the phone." "What's wrong with you, Em?" "Nothing." She turned away, feeling tears welling up. "I'm tired, that's all." He was silent, then took the beer and left. Emily remained, clutching the edge of the sink. He suspected he didn't know, but he felt it. That evening, she texted Sophia, "Jake is noticing something. We need to be careful." Sophia replied, "I understand. I don't want problems for you, but I can't stop thinking about us." Emily wrote, "Me too. Just scary." Emily sat on the couch, leafing through a book she hadn't read. It was Friday, almost 2 weeks after the first night with Sophia, and the tension in the apartment was palpable. Liam was playing in his room, building something with construction sets, and Jake was busy in the kitchen, making coffee. She tried to seem normal. She smiled at her son, answered Jake briefly, but inside everything was seething. Sophia wrote less often. At her request, Jake suspects, let's send fewer messages, but every line from her was like a spark in dry grass. The phone lay on the armrest, screen down. Emily deleted the last correspondence in the morning Sophia sent. I miss you. When will I see you? And she replied, soon, I promise. You are in my head. She checked 3 times that everything was erased, but the habit of keeping the phone nearby remained. A mistake, as it turned out. Jake entered the living room with a mug, placed it on the table, and sat down opposite. He was wearing an old sweatshirt. His hair was disheveled, but his eyes were as sharp as a knife. Emily sensed him even before he spoke. Where are you going tomorrow? He asked, taking a sip of coffee. To Sarah, she did not look up from the book. She called for dinner. Sarah again, he chuckled, and there was something cold in that sound. You're with her every day now, or what? Not everyone. Emily squeezed the book. Just. A friend helps me take my mind off things. From what? He leaned forward, putting down the mug. You're always distracted, Em. What's wrong at home? Nothing. She raised her eyes, trying to sound calm. Tired, nerves, you know. I know, he nodded, but his face was hard. Only you're not just tired. You are floating somewhere, and your phone. He fell silent, looking at him. Emily swallowed, feeling her pulse quicken. She reached for the phone, but Jake was faster. He grabbed it from the armrest in one motion. Prove me wrong, he said, holding it in his hand. Show me. Jake, that's enough. She stood up, her voice trembling. This is mine. Give it back. Yours. He grinned, but his eyes were angry. We're married, Em. Or have you forgotten? What are you hiding? Nothing. She stepped towards him, holding out her hand. Give it here. He turned on the screen and Emily froze. She set the password 2519, Liam's birthday, but yesterday, in a hurry, she forgot to block it after calling Sarah. Jake ran his finger and his face changed, his eyebrows knitted, his jaw clenched. Sophia M., he read out loud, opening the notification that popped up. I miss you. Are you home? Who is this? Emily felt the blood drain from her face. She deleted the correspondence, but Sophia wrote again right now. While Jake had the phone, she stepped forward. This is a medic, she managed. The one that helped after the accident. He just asks how things are going. Just asking. He scrolled up. Although it was empty, she erased everything. But the new message shone brightly. Miss you. What is this, Em? Do you talk to her at night? No, she clenched her fists. This is gratitude. She saved me, that's all. Gratitude. He threw the phone on the sofa, standing up. You're lying to my face. Who is she? Why is she writing to you? Jake, calm down. Emily stepped back, feeling her voice tremble. It doesn't mean anything. Nothing. He stepped closer. His voice became louder. Do you think I'm blind? You leave, hide, smile into this damn phone. What are you hiding? Nothing. She almost shouted, but then lowered her voice, remembering Liam. You're making it up. Am I making it up? He grabbed the phone again, pointing at the screen. This is not Sarah, M. This is some Sophia, and you and her. What? Are you dating? Are you sleeping? Emily froze, feeling the floor disappear from under her feet. He hit the nail on the head accidentally, but accurately. She opened her mouth, but the words stuck. Answer. He threw the phone on the sofa, and it bounced onto the floor. You sleep with her, right? Jake, that's enough. She raised her hands as if in defense. You're talking nonsense. Nonsense. He stepped towards her, his eyes shining with rage. You were replaced after the accident. You leave, remain silent, and now this. Who is she? Nobody. Emily pursed her lips, but tears were already flowing. Just a friend. A friend who misses you. He snorted, turning away. You're cheating on me, Emily. I felt that something was wrong, but I couldn't even think that you cheated on me with someone else. More precisely, with someone else. I, she gasped, not knowing what to say. The lies were crumbling, and the truth was too close. Don't lie. He hit the table with his fist, the mug fell, and the coffee spilled. You sleep with her, right? With this Sophia? Emily was silent, feeling her heart pounding in her throat. He looked at her, waiting, and silence was the answer. His face was distorted a mixture of pain and rage. Oh my God, he ran his hand through his hair, retreating. Are you? Are you serious? With a woman? Jake, I. She stepped towards him, but he waved her off. Don't touch me, he almost shouted. How long does this last? Since the accident? Or earlier? No, she shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. This is... Recently, I didn't want to. You didn't want to. He laughed, bitterly and evilly. You didn't want to, but you slept with her. And Liam? Have you thought about him? I thought, she whispered, feeling the guilt cutting inside her. I'm confused, Jake. I'm confused, he repeated, looking at her as if she were a stranger. You crashed your car, almost killed yourself, and now this? What's wrong with you, Em? I don't know, she collapsed on the sofa, covering her face with her hands. Sorry. Sorry? He stepped towards the door. I take Liam and go to my sister. I can't be here. Jake, wait, she jumped up, but he had already gone to his son's room. A minute later, he came out with Liam in his arms, who was sleepily rubbing his eyes. Dad, where are we going? Liam asked, looking at Emily. To Aunt Liz, Jake gave her a look full of contempt. Mom will be alone. Emily stood there, feeling her legs give way. The door slammed and the apartment was empty. She fell onto the sofa, sobbing loudly, uncontrollably. The phone was on the floor, but a message from Sophia was glowing. Are you home? She didn't answer. Guilt, shame, fear mixed into a lump that suffocated her. And that was the end. Emily sat on the couch, staring into space. The apartment was deathly silent, no Liam's laughter, no Jake's footsteps, just the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. She felt crushed, but the emptiness inside was worse than the pain. Jake knew. His words, "You're sleeping with her, right?" echoed in her head, and her whisper of "yes" was the nail in the lid of their marriage. She did not want this end, but she herself brought it closer. Now the apartment, their home, seemed alien, as if the walls had turned away from her. She stood up, her legs giving way, and picked up the phone. Something had to be done. Call, explain, return them. She dialed Jake's number. The beeps continued for a long time, but he did not answer. Emily clutched the phone, feeling panic rising. She wrote, Jake, come back. We need to talk. Please. The message went away, but there was no response. Jake and Liam returned in the morning. Emily was awake, sitting in the kitchen with a cold cup of tea, her eyes red, her hair disheveled. She heard a key in the lock and jumped up, her heart pounding. Liam ran in first, wearing dinosaur pajamas, and rushed towards her. Mom, he hugged her legs. Dad said you were tired, and we spent the night at Aunt Liz's. Yes, baby, Emily crouched down, hugging him, feeling his warmth. I missed you. Jake followed him in, throwing his bag on the floor. The face was stony, the gaze cold. He nodded at Liam. Go to your room, champion, he said. Play while Mom and I talk. Liam ran and Emily stood up, clasping her hands. Silence hung, heavy as concrete. You didn't answer, she said quietly. I wrote. I saw it. He crossed his arms, leaning against the wall. I didn't want to talk on the phone. What do you want, Em? Talk, she stepped towards him. Explain. I didn't want it to happen like this. Explain? He grinned, but without amusement. You sleep with Sophia. What is there to explain? It's not just. She hesitated, searching for words. It's not what you think. What is this? He raised his voice, but then lowered it, remembering Liam. You're cheating on me with a woman that's also cheating, Emily. You confessed. What else should I know? I'm confused. She looked at the floor, feeling tears burning her eyes. After the accident, everything went wrong. You were far away, I was alone, And she, what is she doing? He stepped closer, his eyes sparkling. Saved you and climbed into your bed. Is this your excuse? No, Emily looked up, her voice trembling. This is not an excuse. I'm guilty, I know. But you weren't there either, Jake. I wasn't there. He snorted, retreating. I work so that we can live, Em. What are you missing? Don't shout. She clenched her fists. I'm not making excuses. I felt alone. You stopped seeing me. Lonely, he repeated, looking at her as if she were a stranger. And did you find solace with her? How long does it take? 2 weeks, she whispered, lowering her head. After the accident. 2 weeks, he ran his hand over his face, as if erasing fatigue. You lied to my face. Sorry, Emily stepped towards him, but he waved her off. Don't touch, he turned away, looking out the window. I don't know who you are now, Em. You are not the one I married. I'm still me, she swallowed back tears. Just lost. Lost, he turned, his eyes full of pain. And Liam, did you think about him when you slept with her? I thought, she nodded, her voice breaking. Every time. I love him, Jake. And you. Don't say you love me, he interrupted, his voice becoming hard. You don't like it if you do this. You destroyed us. We both ruined it. Emily looked at him, feeling like everything was breaking inside. You stopped talking to me, noticing me. I like furniture. Furniture? He stepped towards her, his face turning purple. I was working, Em, for us, for Liam. Did you go look for someone else? I wasn't looking, she shook her head. It happened. I didn't want to lose you. But I lost it, he retreated, his voice becoming cold. I can't be here. Not now. What do you want? Emily clenched her hands, feeling panic overwhelm her. Divorce? I don't know, he looked at her, and there was emptiness in his eyes. I'm taking Liam and staying with Liz. I think you need to think about it too. Jake, wait, she stepped towards him, but he raised his hand. That's enough, he said quietly but firmly. I can't look at you. Not after this. He went into Liam's room, and Emily heard him packing his things, his backpack, his toys, his pajamas. Liam ran out holding the typewriter. Mom, are we going to Auntie again? He asked, looking at her with big eyes. Yes, baby. Emily crouched down, hugging him, feeling her heart break. Dad wants to be there. I'll see you soon. Okay? He nodded, not understanding. Jake came out with a bag and took Liam's hand. Let's go, champion, he said, without looking at Emily. Mom will rest. The door closed and Emily collapsed on the floor, sobbing. She was left alone for the second time in 24 hours, but now it was final. Jake left, taking Liam, and their marriage, shaky as it was, collapsed. She sat on the floor for an hour, maybe more. The phone blinked. Sophia wrote, You're not answering. Is everything okay? Emily took it with trembling hands, typing. No, Jake found out. He left with Liam. The answer came quickly. Damn, Emily. Sorry. Where are you? I'll come. Emily looked at the message, feeling guilt and desire fighting inside. She didn't want Sophia now, not after this. But the loneliness was unbearable. She wrote, At home. Don't come yet. I need to think. Sophia replied, Okay, I'm here if anything happens. Take care of yourself. Emily dropped the phone, covering her face with her hands. She destroyed everything: family, trust, herself, and I didn't know how to live further. Emily woke up on the couch, her neck stiff, her eyes swollen from crying. It was Sunday, the morning after Jake and Liam had left, and the apartment felt like a tomb, the silence pressed down like a concrete slab. She didn't sleep in the bedroom. The bed where she and Jake had spent 10 years was now a stranger. The blanket smelled like his cigarettes, and it stung more than she expected. The phone was lying nearby, the battery was almost dead, but Sophia no longer wrote after yesterday, Take care of yourself. Emily didn't know whether to be happy about this or not. She stood up, her legs shaking, and went to the kitchen. The coffee maker stood untouched, next to the can of coffee that Jake always opened in the morning. She turned it on, but her hands acted automatically. Her thoughts were somewhere between guilt and emptiness. Liam. His voice, "Mom, are we going to Auntie again?" was spinning in my head, and every time my heart sank. She had destroyed his world, even if he didn't understand it yet. The doorbell rang in my ears. Emily winced, spilling water on the table. She wasn't expecting anyone. Sarah didn't know the details. Sophia promised not to come. She dried her hands with a towel and walked towards the door, feeling her pulse quicken. A courier stood on the threshold, a young guy in a blue jacket with an envelope in his hands. "Emily Reed?" he asked, looking at the tablet. "Yes," she frowned. "What is this?" "Documents." He held out an envelope. "Sign here." She signed, her fingers trembled, and the guy left. Emily closed the door, looking at the thick yellow envelope. The sender's address is a law firm in Queens. She tore off the edge, pulled out the papers, and the headline hit her eyes: "Statement for divorce." Below is Jake's name, his signature, the date yesterday. And then, in fine print, "Demand for full custody of minor Liam Reed." Emily collapsed in her chair, the papers falling out of her hands. He filed for divorce. Not a day, not two less than a day after their quarrel, and he already went to a lawyer. Full custody. He wanted to take Liam, not just leave, but take him out of her life. She clutched her head in her hands, feeling panic overwhelm her. This was not just the end of a marriage, it was a war. The phone rang an hour later. Emily was sitting in the kitchen, the papers lay in front of her, the coffee was cold. The number was unfamiliar, but she answered, hoping it was a mistake. "Emily Reed?" The voice was male, dry, businesslike. "Yes," she swallowed. "Who is this?" "Mark Taylor, Jake Reed's lawyer." He spoke smoothly, like an announcer. "Have you received the documents?" "Yes." She squeezed the phone. "What does it mean?" "Your husband filed for divorce and demands full custody of his son." He fell silent, as if he was waiting for a reaction. "The basis is adultery and a threat to the well-being of the child." "Threat?" Emily jumped up, her voice breaking. "What threat? I love Liam. This is a legal term." Taylor remained calm. "Accidents, alcohol in the blood, unstable behavior. We are ready to prove it." "That's a lie," she gasped. "I'm not a threat. Jake can't take it. Maybe if the court decides." He coughed. "I advise you to find a lawyer, Mrs. Reed." "First hearing in 2 weeks. My number is in the documents if you have any questions." The connection has been lost. Emily threw the phone on the table, feeling the tears flow again. Jake didn't just leave, he hit where it hurt the most. Liam was her light, her meaning, and the thought of losing him was unbearable. She called Sarah. My friend answered after the third ring, her voice sleepy. Why are you so early?" "Jake filed for divorce." Emily clutched the phone, her voice trembling. "Wants to take Liam." "What?" Sarah perked up. "Are you serious? Because of what?" "He found out," Emily whispered, as if the walls could hear, "that I cheated on him with Sophia." "Oh, damn," Sarah breathed. "You're with her." "Well, is it true?" "Yes." Emily closed her eyes. "I screwed up, Sarah. He left yesterday, and today it is." "Jesus, M." Sarah paused, then said more firmly, "You need a lawyer." "Now." "I don't know where to start." Emily shook her head. "I don't have money for this." "We'll find it." Sarah was adamant. "I have a friend who is inexpensive. I'll call him." "Where are you?" "Home." Emily looked at the empty kitchen. "One." "Sit there," Sarah said. "I'll arrive in an hour. Don't do anything stupid." Emily nodded, although her friend couldn't see, and hung up. She remained sitting, looking at the papers. Infidelity, a threat to well-being. Every word was like a blow. She knew she was to blame, but it was too much. Sarah arrived with coffee and a bag of croissants. Her red hair was pulled back into a ponytail, and her eyes were serious. She sat down opposite him, glancing at the documents. "Well, crap," she said, opening the coffee. Jake wasn't joking. "No," Emily took the cup, but didn't drink. "He wants Liam. Fully." "This is nonsense." Sarah shook her head. "You're a good mother, Em. The courts do not easily hand over children to their father." He says, I'm a threat. Emily squeezed her cup. Accident, alcohol, and Sophia. Sophia, Sarah squinted. Who is she anyway? Medic, Emily lowered her eyes. Saved me after the accident. Then, everything started to spin. It's spinning, Sarah chuckled. Did you sleep with her? Yes, Emily whispered, feeling ashamed. Several times. Damn, Sarah leaned back. I don't judge, but... Why? I don't know. Emily swallowed back tears. She sees me, Sarah. Jake stopped. I felt alive. Alive, Sarah sighed. And now what? He left. Liam was with him, and that was it. I didn't mean to. Emily looked at her. I love Liam. And Jake. Loved. I loved him. I had to finish with him, and then look for a replacement. Sarah nodded. We have to fight, Em. For Liam. I'll call a lawyer. He'll help. Thank you. Emily forced a smile. I'm your friend, you fool. Sarah squeezed her hand. But you need to decide what's next. With Sophia, too. Emily nodded, but inside there was chaos. Sophia was her salvation, but now she is the cause of her collapse. She didn't know how to choose. Jake called in the evening. Emily answered immediately, hoping for a conversation. Did you receive the papers? His voice was cold, without emotion. Yes, she squeezed the phone. Jake, why is this? Full custody. You know why, he said evenly. You're unstable, Em. Liam is better with me. I'm his mother, she gasped. You can't take him away. I can, he fell silent, then added, you drank, crashed the car, cheated. The court will decide. Jake, please, she clenched her fists. Let's talk. Not like that. About what? He snorted. You said everything yesterday. I'm filing for divorce. Liam stays with me. I will fight, Emily raised her voice. You won't take him. We'll see, he hung up. Emily was sitting on the living room floor, leaning against the sofa. The light from the street lamps filtered through the curtains, streaking the carpet. It was late Tuesday, 3 days after Jake had filed for divorce and left with Liam. The apartment was empty, no son's laughter, no husband's steps, only silence that hurt the ears. There was a bottle of wine on the table, a cheap Merlot from the supermarket, half empty. She hadn't had a drink since Sarah's party, but today she couldn't resist. The wine did not help, it only increased the heaviness in my chest. The phone was lying next to me, the screen was dark. Sophia wrote this morning. Emily, how are you? I'm worried. Emily didn't answer. She couldn't. Every time she looked at her name, she saw Jake's face, his words, you destroyed us. Sophia was the light, but now this light burned. Emily took the bottle and took a sip straight from her throat, feeling the wine burn her throat. She coughed, wiped her mouth on her sleeve, and closed her eyes. It was a fall, slow, inexorable, and she didn't know how to stop. The morning came with a headache and the smell of spilled wine. Emily woke up on the floor, the bottle lying nearby, the stain spreading across the carpet. She stood up, her legs shaking, and went to the bathroom. The mirror showed someone else's face, pale, with dark circles under the eyes, hair stuck together. She turned on the water and washed her face, but it didn't help. The guilt was inside, like poison, and was washed away only by tears, which were no longer left. She returned to the living room and picked up the phone. The battery was almost dead, but there was a message from Sarah. The lawyer is ready to meet tomorrow, 10 a.m. Don't miss it. Emily nodded to herself, although she had no strength. She had to fight for Liam. It was the only thing that kept her afloat. But every step was difficult, as if she were dragging a stone. Jake hasn't called since Sunday. She texted him yesterday. Can I see Liam? Please. He answered briefly, not yet. The lawyer will tell you when. It was cutting. He cut her off from her son, as if she were a stranger. Emily clutched the phone, feeling anger mixed with despair. She wasn't perfect, but she was a mother. He had no right. The day passed in a fog. Emily forced herself to eat toast with peanut butter, nothing else. She sat in the kitchen, looking at Liam's empty chair, and remembered how he laughed, smearing syrup on his face. These little things, his voice, his smell, were now as distant as a dream. She got up to distract herself, and began to clean up. She washed the dishes, wiped the table, but her hands were shaking, and the plate slipped out, breaking on the floor. "Damn," she cursed, dropping to her knees. The fragments glittered like her life broken, sharp. She collected them, cutting her finger, and the blood dripped onto the floor. Emily stared at the red stain, feeling the tears welling up again. She couldn't even clean the kitchen, let alone get herself ready. The phone rang, and she jumped. It was Sophia. Emily stared at the screen, heart pounding. She did not want to speak, but loneliness pushed her to answer. "Emily?" Sophia's voice was soft, alarmed. "How are you?" "It's bad." Emily clutched the phone, her voice hoarse. "Very bad." "Damn, I was worried," Sophia exhaled. "You didn't answer. What's happened?" "Jake left," Emily swallowed. "He knows about us. He filed for divorce and wants to take Liam away." "Lord," Sophia fell silent, then said quietly, "I'm sorry, Emily. Is this because of me?" "Not only that," Emily shook her head, although Sophia couldn't see. "It's my own fault. But he found out, and everything collapsed." "I can come," Sophia said more firmly. "You don't have to be alone." "No," Emily clenched her fists. "Not now. I I can't see you." "Why?" Pain flashed in Sophia's voice. "I want to help." "Because you're part of it." Emily broke down, her voice trembling. "You are close to me, Sophia, but because of us, I lost everything. Liam, Jake's house, I can't do this." Silence hung, heavy as stone. Sophia finally said, "Understand, you blame me." "No," Emily closed her eyes, tears flowing. "Myself, but I can't continue. We need to. Stop." "Stop?" Sophia coughed, her voice trembled. "Are you serious?" "Yes," Emily whispered. "Sorry, this is the end." "Emily," Sophia began, but fell silent. "Okay, if that's what you want, take care of yourself." The connection has been lost. Emily threw the phone on the table, feeling something inside her break. She loved Sophia, it was true, sharp as a knife. But this love destroyed her life, and she could not hold both of them, Sophia and Liam. The choice was made, and it cut deeper than she expected. The night was worse than the day. Emily lay on the couch, looking at the ceiling. The wine ran out, but she didn't go for more. She had the strength to understand that this was not a solution. She thought about Liam, how he slept with Aunt Liz, how he asked about her. She thought about Jake, his anger, his pain, his right to hate her. I thought about Sophia, her voice, her warmth, now lost. She got up and went to Liam's room. His bed was made, the cars were on the shelf, just as he had left them. Emily lay down on his pillow, inhaling the smell of baby shampoo, and cried quietly, silently. It was her fault. She destroyed her family, and now she was left alone in an empty apartment, where every corner was reminded of losses. In the morning, she forced herself to get up. The meeting with the lawyer was in 3 hours, and she had to be ready. Emily washed her face, put on jeans and a sweater, and pulled her hair into a ponytail. The mirror showed a shadow of who she was, but she clenched her teeth. Liam was her reason to live, and she wouldn't give up. The phone blinked a message from Sarah. "I'll be with you at the lawyer's. Hang in there." Emily replied, "Thanks. I'm trying." She took her bag and divorce papers and left, closing the door. The apartment was left behind empty, like her heart, but there was a fight ahead, and she could not lose it. Jake woke up to the sound of his alarm clock at 5:30 am. Sister Liz's room in Queens was cramped, a single bed, an old chest of drawers, a damp smell from a leaking pipe in the basement. He lay there for a minute, looking at the ceiling, feeling the fatigue pressing on his chest. Liam slept next to him on a cot, curled up under a blanket with cars. His blonde hair stuck out from under the edge, and Jake looked at him, feeling a lump in his throat. That was all he had left the son for whom he now lived. He stood up quietly so as not to wake the boy and went to the bathroom. The mirror showed a face he barely recognized, stubble, bags under his eyes, wrinkles he had never noticed before. He was 40, but his last days had aged him by a decade. He washed his face with cold water, ran his hand over his chin, and decided to shave later. There was no time. Work started at 7 o'clock, and he couldn't be late. Liz was already in the kitchen, making coffee. Her house 2 stories, with peeling paint, was their temporary shelter. She was 3 years younger, with short dark hair and a sharp tongue, but in recent days she had been more silent than usual. "Coffee?" she asked without turning around. "Yes," Jake nodded, sitting down at the table. "Thank you for letting us in." "You're my brother." Liz put the mug in front of him. "Where else would you go?" "I don't know." He took a sip, burning himself. "Maybe to my mother, but she is far away." "It's better here." Liz looked at him. "How's Liam?" "Asleep," Jake shrugged. "Yesterday I asked about Emily. Told him she was busy." "Busy," Liz chuckled. "You can't talk like that forever." "I know," he squeezed the mug. "But what can I say? Mom is sleeping with someone and we left." "Jake," Liz sat down opposite. "He is small, but not stupid. He feels." "Let him not know yet." Jake lowered his eyes. "I'll sort it out." Liz nodded, but her gaze was heavy. She knew more than he said. He told her about Sophia, about the betrayal, about the divorce. She didn't judge, but she didn't support Emily either. "How are you?" she asked quietly. "Like crap," he smiled bitterly, "but I'm holding on. For his sake." Jake dropped Liam off at daycare at 6:30. The boy hugged him, sleepily muttering, "Bye, Dad." Jake squeezed him a little harder than usual and walked away, feeling his heart clench. A job at a logistics company was waiting a warehouse in Brooklyn, endless invoices, customer calls. He drove there listening to the radio, but not hearing. Thoughts were about her Emily. Her whisper, yes, her tears, her lies. It was playing in his head like a broken record, and he couldn't turn it off. It was a hell of a day at the warehouse. The truck was late, the client was yelling into the phone, the boss demanded a report by the evening. Jake worked his ass off, carrying boxes, checking lists, sipping coffee from the machine. His hands were shaking from fatigue, but he didn't stop. Liam needed kindergarten, food, clothes, everything he now needed alone. Emily was no longer in the equation, and it cut deeper than he admitted. At lunch, he sat in the break room, holding a sandwich that he didn't want to eat. A colleague, Mike, plopped down next to him, opening a can of Coke. "You look like a zombie," Mike said, chewing. "What happened?" "Wife," Jake shrugged, looking at the table. "She left." "Damn," Mike whistled. "Seriously? To someone?" "Yes," Jake clenched his fist. "To the woman." "To the woman?" Mike choked. "Are you kidding?" "No." Jake looked at him, his eyes darkening. "I found myself a doctor after the accident. I found out and left." "Jesus," Mike shook his head. "This is wild. And your son?" "With me." Jake took a bite of the sandwich, but couldn't feel the taste. "We live with our sister." "Tough." Mike patted him on the shoulder. "Hold on, man. Take a day off if you need to." "I can't." Jake shook his head. "We need money." He went back to work, but Mike's words were still running through his head. "Hold on." How? He held on for Liam's sake, but inside everything was burning anger, pain, betrayal. Emily destroyed their family, and he couldn't forgive. In the evening, he picked Liam up from kindergarten. The boy ran out holding a crooked car with red wheels. "This is for you, Dad," he said, smiling. "Cool, champ." Jake took the drawing, feeling his throat tighten. "Thank you." They went to Liz's. At home, she made spaghetti, and they sat down at the table. Jake, Liam, Liz, and her husband Tom, the silent guy from the factory. Liam chatted about kindergarten, about a friend who fell off a swing, and Jake nodded, trying to smile. But every time his son laughed, he saw Emily, her eyes, her voice when she read him fairy tales. It was unbearable. "Dad, when will Mom arrive?" Liam suddenly asked, twisting his fork. Jake froze. Liz looked at him. He swallowed, searching for words. "Soon," he said, hating lies. "She's busy, but she'll see you." "Okay," Liam nodded, returning to his food. Jake clenched his fist under the table. After dinner, he put Liam to bed. The cot creaked, but the boy fell asleep quickly, cuddling the stuffed dinosaur. Jake sat next to him, looking at him. He was everything his son, his meaning. Emily won't take him, he won't let her. But the thought of what she did with this Sophia burned like acid. Liz found him in the kitchen, smoking by the window, a habit he had returned to after he left. "Are you okay?" she asked, sitting down. "No," he blew out smoke, looking into the darkness. "I don't know." Jake lowered his head. "I work hard, sleep for 3 hours, and she is with someone there." "Why, Liz?" "I don't know," Liz sighed. "Maybe it's broken, but it's not your fault." "I feel like mine too." He looked at her, his eyes sparkling. "I didn't notice her." He worked and was silent. "That's not an excuse." Liz shook her head. "She made a choice. You hold on to Liam." Jake nodded, but he felt empty inside. He thought about the past, how he and Emily had laughed, made plans, raised their son. Now it was ashes, and he did not know how to live further. Thursday morning was gray, and the rain was pattering on the windows. Emily stood up, put on jeans and a sweater, and pulled her hair into a ponytail. Sarah wrote, "Caitlin is waiting at 11 o'clock. Address is on 7th Street. I'm with you if you want." Emily replied, "Thank you, I can handle it myself." She took her umbrella and went out, feeling the cold air hit her face. Caitlin Morris's office was in an old brick building small, with a wooden desk and a couch in the corner. Caitlin met her at the door, a woman in her 40s with short gray hair and warm eyes. She extended her hand. "Emily?" she asked, smiling. "I'm Caitlin. Come on in." Emily nodded, sitting down on the couch. The room smelled of lavender, and there was a cup of tea on the table. Caitlin sat down opposite her, holding a notepad. "Sarah said it's hard for you," she began softly. "Tell me what's happening." Emily swallowed, feeling the words get stuck. She didn't know where to start, but Caitlin waited, taking her time. She told it like it was, without absolving herself of guilt. Caitlin nodded without changing her face. "That's a lot. How do you feel?" "Like crap," Emily smiled bitterly. "Guilty, lost. I don't know who I am now." "I understand." Caitlin wrote something down. "Let's figure it out. What happened before this, before the betrayal?" Emily spoke slowly, haltingly. About Jake, about their cold, about loneliness. Caitlin listened, sometimes nodding, sometimes asking questions. "How did you feel then?" "What were you missing?" Emily spoke, and the words flowed like water from a broken pipe. She cried, talking about Liam, about his, "Mom, when are you coming?" Caitlin handed her the napkins without interrupting. "You blame yourself for everything," Caitlin said when Emily fell silent. "But this is not the whole truth." "What is the truth?" Emily squeezed the napkin. "I destroyed my family." "You made a choice." Caitlin looked into her eyes. "But he didn't come out of nowhere. You were alone, invisible. This is not an excuse, but a reason. Now the question is, what's next?" "I don't know," Emily whispered. "I want Liam back. I want to find myself." "This is the beginning," Caitlin smiled. "We will work on this. You're not alone, Emily." The session lasted an hour. Emily came out with red eyes, but lighter, as if the stone in her chest had become smaller. Caitlin gave her homework to write down her thoughts, good and bad, every day. Emily didn't know if it would help, but for the first time in weeks, she felt like she was moving forward. At home, she sat down with her notebook, as Caitlin had instructed. She wrote, "I love Liam. I hate myself for Sophia. I miss Jake the way he used to be." The words were crooked, but honest. She closed the notebook, feeling a faint spark not of hope, but of possibility. The phone blinked. "Sarah." "How was it?" Emily replied. "Weird, but better. Thank you." Sarah wrote, "You can do it, Em. I believe." Emily smiled for the first time in a long time. She was alone, but not completely. Sarah, Caitlin, the fight for Liam kept her going. The fall was over, and now she had to get up. Emily stood in front of diner on 5th in Brooklyn, clutching her bag. It was Friday, 2 weeks after Jake had left Liam and filed for divorce. The rain was drizzling, drops flowed down the umbrella, and she was shaking not from the cold, but from nerves. Sarah's lawyer, John Kelly, arranged this meeting neutral territory to discuss custody. Emily hadn't seen Liam since that night, and the thought of him, his smile, his voice was the only thing that kept her going. She entered, shaking water from her umbrella. The cafe was old, a shabby counter, the smell of frying bacon, the hum of voices. Jake was already there, sitting by the window with a mug of coffee. Liam wasn't with him. The lawyer said it was just for conversation. Jake looked worse than she remembered. Thicker stubble, tired eyes, wrinkled sweatshirt. He looked up, meeting her, and his face hardened. Emily walked over, feeling her heart pounding. She sat down opposite him, putting her bag next to him. "Hello," she said quietly, her voice trembling. "Hi," he nodded, without taking his eyes off the mug. "Where is your lawyer?" "John said we did it ourselves," Emily swallowed. "This is not a trial, just a conversation." "Conversation," he chuckled, looking at her. "About what, Em? You said everything." "Not everything." She clasped her hands under the table. "I want to see Liam, Jake. He is my son." "Your son," he raised his voice, but immediately lowered it, noticing the glances of his neighbors. "Did you think about him when you slept with her?" Emily lowered her eyes, feeling her cheeks burn. Guilt was her shadow, but she couldn't let him take Liam. "I was mistaken," she said, looking at him. "I know, but I'm his mother, and I love him." "You love me," he smiled bitterly. "Did you love me when you lied?" "Yes," Emily pursed her lips. "It doesn't undo what I did. But Liam is not a punishment for my mistakes." "Not a punishment?" He leaned closer, his eyes sparkling. "You crashed your car drunk, cheated on me with a woman, and I should trust you with him." "I'm not a threat," she raised her voice, but restrained herself. "It was a one-time accident, Jake. And Sophia, it's over." "It's over," he leaned back, crossing his arms. "What difference does it make to me? You ruined us, Em. I can't forget." "I'm not asking you to forget." Emily clenched her fists. "Please give me a chance to be with him. He's asking about me, right?" Jake fell silent, looking out the window. She knew she was in trouble. Liam was their weakness, and he couldn't lie about his son. "Yes," he finally said, his voice becoming quieter. "He asks. I'm saying you're busy." "Busy," Emily whispered, feeling tears burning her eyes. "Does he think I left him?" "I don't know," Jake shrugged, but pain flashed in his gaze. "It's small, Em. I don't understand." "Then let me see him." She leaned forward. "Please. I won't take him away, just time with him." "No," he shook his head. "Until the court decides. I don't trust you." "Jake," Emily clutched the table, feeling desperation take over. "You can't cut me off from him. This is unfair." "Unfair." He hit the table with his fist and coffee spilled. "Are you talking about honesty? You slept with her, lied to me, and now about honesty." "I know I'm to blame." She looked into his eyes, tears flowing. "But Liam is not your leverage against me. He is our son." "Ours," he repeated, his voice trembling. "Did you remember this when you were with her?" Emily was silent, feeling his words cut. He was right, she forgot, got lost in Sophia, in this whirlwind of feelings. But now she wanted to give back what she could. "I was mistaken," she said quietly, "but I won't stop being his mother." "You won't take him away." "We'll see." He stood up, throwing the money on the table. "The lawyers will sort it out. I don't want to see you, Em." "Jake, wait." She jumped up, but he was already walking towards the door. "Tell Liam I love him." He stopped without turning around. For a second, it seemed like he would answer, but then he left, slamming the door. Emily collapsed back into her chair, covering her face with her hands. The conversation was like a blow, short, harsh, without hope. She lost him, and Liam was further away than ever. Emily returned home in a fog. She threw her bag on the floor and collapsed on the sofa, feeling the tears flow again. Jake hated her. It was in his eyes, in his voice. And he was right, she destroyed their family. But his refusal to give her Liam was like a knife in the heart. The phone rang. Sarah. Emily answered, her voice hoarse. Sarah was alarmed. "How was the meeting?" "It's bad." Emily squeezed the phone. "He won't let me see Liam. He said the court will decide." "Damn," Sarah breathed. "Is he serious?" "Yes." Emily closed her eyes. "He yelled and accused me. I don't know what to do. You did what you could, Sarah said firmly. Now a lawyer. John knows his stuff. What if I lose? Emily whispered. If he takes it? He won't take it, Sarah was adamant. You're a mother, Em. The court will see this. What did your therapist say? Caitlin, Emily swallowed. That I have to fight. But I'm tired, Sarah. I know, Sarah softened. But you are not alone. I'm with you, Caitlin too. Hold on. Emily stood at the entrance to Prospect Park in Brooklyn, clutching a bag of toys. It was Saturday, a week after their meeting in the cafe, and the lawyers agreed on a short meeting with Liam an hour under Jake's supervision. The sun was shining weakly through the clouds, the wind was blowing leaves across the grass. She put on jeans and a warm jacket, pulled her hair into a ponytail, nothing extra, just a mother who wants to see her son. But inside everything was trembling. This was not just a meeting, but a test, and she knew that Jake would be watching her every move. She saw them from afar. Liam was running ahead, holding a red ball. Jake was following, his hands in the pockets of his sweatshirt. Liam noticed her first, his face lighting up with a smile. "Mom," he shouted, throwing the ball and rushing towards her. Emily knelt down, hugging him so tightly that she could feel his warmth through her jacket. He smelled like baby shampoo and grass, and it was like a breath of air after a long dive. "Hello, my boy," she whispered, stroking his hair. "I missed you so much." "Me too." Liam pulled away, looking at her with wide eyes. "Dad said you were busy. Are you busy now?" "No," Emily smiled, feeling a lump in her throat. "I'm here with you." Jake approached, stopping a few steps away. His face was stony, his gaze cold. He nodded but didn't say a word. Emily stood up, holding Liam's hand, and looked at him. "Thank you," she said quietly, "that he gave it to me." "Don't thank me," he shrugged. The lawyer insisted. No more." "Okay," she squeezed Liam's hand. "Shall we go play?" "Yes." Liam pulled her towards the landing. "There's a carousel." Emily led the way, feeling Jake's eyes on her back. They reached a carousel, an old one with peeling paint, and Liam climbed onto the wooden horse. She twirled it, listening to his laughter, and for a minute everything was as before, just mother and son in the park. But every time she turned around, she saw Jake. He stood at the bench, arms crossed, not looking away. Half an hour later, Liam ran to the swing, and Emily came up to him with a bag. She took out a small car, blue, with flashing lights, just like he liked. "This is for you," she said, holding it out. "Cool." Liam grabbed the toy, running towards Jake. "Dad, look." Jake took the typewriter, examined it, then looked at Emily. "What is this?" "A gift." She stepped closer. "He likes it." "A gift." He squeezed the toy, his voice becoming harsh. "You're bribing him, right?" "No," Emily frowned. "I just want him to be happy." "Happy," he snorted, returning the typewriter to Liam. "You're using him, Em, to get close to me." "What?" She froze, feeling her anger flare up. "I don't use it. He is my son." "Your son?" Jake stepped towards her, lowering his voice so Liam couldn't hear. "Do you think I will believe that this is not a game? You want to go back, right, after everything?" "No," Emily clenched her fists, her voice trembling. "I want Liam, not you." "Don't lie," he narrowed his eyes. "You cry, you beg, but you slept with her. Now, have you decided to bring your family back?" "That's not true." She shook her head, tears burning her eyes. "Sophia is finished. I want to be with Liam, that's all." "It's over," he smiled bitterly. "Should I believe you? You've been lying to me for months, Em." "I'm not lying now." Emily stepped closer. "Look at me, Jake. I'm trying to fix it. To correct." He raised his voice, but immediately lowered it when he noticed Liam. "You destroyed us. Can't fix anything." "Not us," she pursed her lips. "Liam, give me a chance to be his mom." "Chance?" He stepped back, looking at her as if she were a stranger. "You missed it when you chose her. I won't let you use it." "I don't use it." Emily almost screamed, but held back. "You can't take him away just because you hate me." "I hate it," he said quietly but firmly, "and I don't trust it." The hour is up, Em. We're leaving. Jake, please. She grabbed his sleeve, but he pulled his hand away. That's enough. He turned to Liam. Let's go, champion. It's time to go home. Mom, are you with us? Liam ran up holding the typewriter. Emily crouched down, hugging him, feeling her heart break. No, baby. See you soon, okay? Okay, he nodded, but his eyes were sad. Jake took his hand, and they walked away. Liam looked back and waved, but Jake didn't even look back. Emily remained standing, feeling the wind hit her face. Tears flowed, but she did not wipe them away. Jake saw her as an enemy, a manipulator, not a mother. It was worse than his anger, it was alienation, and she didn't know how to break through. Emily returned home, throwing her bag on the floor. The apartment was empty, as always, and she collapsed onto the sofa, covering her face with her hands. Meeting Liam had been light his laugh, his hugs, but Jake turned it into another fight. You're using him. Those words stung because she knew how he could think that way. She had broken their trust, and now he saw every move she made as a lie. The phone rang. Caitlin, her therapist. Emily answered, her voice shaking. Emily. Caitlin was soft but persistent. Are you okay? I feel not. No, Emily swallowed. I saw Liam. Jake. He thinks I'm using my son to get back. Yelled at me. Oh, Caitlin paused, then asked, how did you feel? Pain, Emily whispered. Guilt. He's right, I ruined everything. But I want Liam, and he doesn't believe me. He's wounded, Caitlin said calmly. His anger is a defense. But you're not using Liam, right? No, Emily squeezed the phone. I love him. This is not a game. Then stick with it, Caitlin was firm. You are a mother, and your love is real. Jake may not see, but the court will. What if not? Emily shook her head. What if I lose? You won't lose if you fight, Caitlin said. We're working on it, Emily. You are stronger than you think. Emily nodded, although Caitlin couldn't see. She hung up, feeling a faint spark not of confidence, but of determination. Jake might hate her, but she won't give up STS. The night was difficult. Emily sat with her notebook as Caitlin had instructed and wrote, Saw Liam. He laughed, and that was all. Jake hates me. I'm not using my son. I want him back. The words were crooked, but honest. She closed the notebook, looking into the darkness. Emily stood at the living room window, looking out at wet Brooklyn. It was Saturday, 2 weeks after meeting Jake in the park, where he accused her of using Liam. The rain drummed on the glass, reflecting her mood gray, heavy, restless. The lawyers were preparing for the first custody hearing, scheduled in 5 days, and she tried to hold on, but every day was like shadowboxing. Caitlin's notebook lay on the table, covered with her thoughts. I'm afraid to lose. Liam is all I have. She wrote this yesterday, after another session with a therapist, and the words were like a cry into the void. The phone rang, jerking her out of her thoughts. It was Sarah. Emily answered, sounding tired. Sarah was excited. Are you sitting? Yes, Emily frowned. What's happened? I saw Jake, Sarah said quickly. Yesterday in Queens, he wasn't alone. With Liam? Emily squeezed the phone. No, Sarah hesitated. With a woman. They walked out of the cafe, laughing. She's cute, blonde, about 30. Emily froze, feeling the blood drain from her face. Are you sure? Yes, Sarah sighed. I didn't want to tell you, but you should know. He walked close to her, as if they were, well, together. Together, Emily repeated, her voice trembling. Is he with someone? I don't know for sure, Sarah softened. Maybe just a colleague. But it looked not just like that. Emily hung up without saying goodbye. She collapsed on the sofa, feeling fear overwhelm her. Jake is with someone. It was like a blow, not because she wanted him back, but because it made the break permanent. He moved on, and she drowned. She picked up the phone and dialed Jake. The beeps took a long time, but he answered. His voice was cold, wary. What do you want? Is it true that you have someone? She blurted out without holding back. What? He fell silent, then snorted. Who told you? Sarah saw you. Emily clenched her fists. With a woman. Are you dating her? It's none of your business, he said sharply. We're not together, Em. You chose it yourself. Not mine, she gasped. And Liam? Are you taking him to her? No, he raised his voice. This is a colleague, Emily. We drank coffee. Don't make things up. Colleague, she repeated, not believing. You laughed with her, Sarah said. And what? He smiled bitterly. Am I not allowed to laugh? You and Sophia weren't just laughing, and I'm supposed to believe you. This is different. Emily squeezed the phone. You left yourself with nothing, he said harshly. I'm not with someone, Em. Bye. But if it does, you shouldn't interfere. He hung up and Emily was left with the dial tone. The next day, Emily went to see her lawyer, John Kelly. His office was in the center of Brooklyn, small, with a smell of paper and coffee. John, a man of about 50 with a bald head and kind eyes, met her with a folder in his hands. Emily, he nodded, sitting down. Hearing in 4 days. Are you ready? No, she squeezed the bag. Jake. He has someone. Colleague. Will this have an impact? Maybe, John frowned. If he proves stability, yes, but we will prove yours. You work with a therapist, right? Yes, Emily nodded. Caitlin is helping. I don't drink. I don't go away anymore. I want Liam. Okay? John wrote it down. This is a plus. The accident and betrayal are cons, but we will play on the fact that you are a mother looking for correction. The court loves stories like this. In the evening, she sat with a notebook, as Caitlin ordered, and wrote, Jake is on the other side. I'm afraid of losing him, not him, but Liam. I don't want to be alone. The words were crooked, but honest. She closed the notebook when the phone rang Jake. His voice was quieter than in the morning. Liam wants to talk to you. Is it true? Emily jumped up, her heart pounding. Give him the phone. Mom. Liam's voice was sleepy, but familiar. It's you? Yes, baby. Emily clutched the phone, tears flowing. How are you? Okay, he sniffed. Aunt Liz has a cat, he's fat. Where are you? Home, she whispered. Miss you. Me too, Liam hesitated. Why aren't we together? Dad said you had a fight. Emily swallowed, feeling the words get stuck. Yes, we quarreled, but I love you and will see you soon. Do you promise? His voice became quieter. I promise, she nodded, although he did not see. You are my boy, always. Okay, Liam said. Calm down, Mom. Calm down, Emily whispered, hearing Jake answer the phone. He's tired, he said, his voice even. He's sleeping now. Thank you, Emily squeezed the phone. That means a lot. Don't thank me, he fell silent, then added. He asks about you every day. I don't know what to say. Tell him I love him, Emily said quietly, and that she didn't quit. Jake was silent for a second, then cleared his throat. He's your son, Em. Jake sat in Liz's kitchen, looking at his phone. Liam was asleep in the room, his breathing coming through the open door. The conversation with Emily, his voice full of pain and love for his son, touched something inside. He hated her, but Liam was their connection, and that call showed how much the boy missed him. Liz came in holding tea. Why aren't you sleeping? Liam talked to Emily. Jake shrugged. She was crying. And what? Liz sat down opposite. Did you give it to her? Yes, he squeezed the mug. He asks about her. I can't lie forever. Then don't lie. Liz looked at him. She's a mother, Jake. You may hate her, but Liam doesn't. I know, he lowered his head. Just. This Sophia, and now she wants him back. And you? Liz narrowed her eyes. Sarah saw you with that blonde. Who is she? To awry. Jake sighed. Colleague. We were just drinking coffee. Emily thinks I'm sleeping with her. And you? Liz raised an eyebrow. No, he shook his head. Not yet. But she's normal, Liz. Not like Emily. Normal, Liz chuckled. You're not ready, Jake. And Liam, too. Think about him. Jake nodded, looking into the darkness. Liam asked about his mom, and his voice said, Why aren't we together? Cut deeper than he expected. He hated Emily, but his son was their bridge, and he began to think not about her, but about what was best for Liam. Emily sat at the corner brew in Manhattan, looking out the window at the traffic. It was Friday, 3 weeks after Liam's call, and the first custody hearing had been 2 days ago. The judge ordered temporary joint custody. Liam lived with Jake in Queens, but Emily could see him on weekends. It was not the end, but a step, and she clung to it like a life preserver. Today, she and Jake met at the insistence of their lawyers to discuss the divorce, finances, and Liam's future. She put on a gray sweater and jeans, trying to look put together, but inside she was shaking. Jake walked in at 2:15, 5 minutes late. His sweatshirt was wrinkled, his hair was disheveled, but his eyes were a little softer than in the park. He sat down opposite, ordering coffee from the waiter, and looked at her. "Hello," he said, his voice even. "Hi," Emily squeezed the cup. "How's Liam?" "Okay," Jake nodded. "Yesterday I drew you a car. I want to show." Emily smiled, feeling the warmth. "Tell me I'm waiting." He nodded, but the silence hung, heavy as always. The waiter brought the coffee and Jake took a sip, looking at the table. "The lawyers said we need to decide," he began. "Divorce, money, Liam. How are you?" "I want him to be happy," Emily said quietly. "And so that we don't kill each other." "They didn't kill me," he chuckled, but without malice. "It's hard after everything, Em." "I know," she pursed her lips. "It's my fault. But you, too, were silent, withdrawing into yourself." "Yes," he looked at her, his eyes darkening. "I wasn't perfect. I worked, I was tired, I didn't see you. But Sophia, it was a blow." "I understand," Emily lowered her gaze. "I didn't want to hurt you. Just lost." "Lost," he repeated, his voice trembling. "And I lost my family. Liam lost us." Emily swallowed, feeling tears sting her eyes. "He didn't lose it. We both love him." "We love you," Jake nodded, but his face was hard. "But I can't forget, Em." "She left," Emily said firmly. "I broke up with her. For Liam, for myself." "Tore it," he leaned back, crossing his arms. "What if I didn't find out? Would you continue?" "I don't know," she whispered honestly. "Maybe I was weak, Jake, but not now." He was silent, looking out the window. Emotions were running high: anger, pain, something else, elusive. Emily leaned closer. "I'm not asking for it back," she said. "But for Liam's sake, let's not be enemies." Oh looked at her, and a warmth flashed in his eyes, old, almost forgotten. "I don't want to break it, Em. He misses you. We both screwed up." "Yes," he chuckled, sincerely for the first time in months. "I was silent, you left." Classic. Emily chuckled, and this weak laugh was like a bridge, fragile, but real. They talked for another half hour about money, about Liam, weekends with her, holidays in half. This was not reconciliation, but an agreement for the sake of his son, in order not to drown in hatred. "I saw Carrie," he suddenly said, looking into the cup. "Colleague. Just coffee, but she's normal." Emily froze, but nodded. "Fine, if she makes you happy." "I don't know," he shrugged. "It's too early. And you?" "Alone," she said quietly. "And it's better that way. Bye." He nodded, and the silence became softer. They finished their coffee and stood up. Jake stopped at the exit. "Liam wants to see us together," he said. "Tomorrow in the park, if you want." "I want to," Emily smiled, feeling her heart squeezing. "Thank you, Jake." "Don't thank me," he nodded. "For his sake." They parted ways. He went to the metro. She went to a taxi. Emily looked after him, feeling both bitterness and relief. The way back was closed. Their marriage was dead, and they both admitted it. But for Liam's sake, they might not be enemies, and that was enough. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think, click to the next one.